Okay.
And Rick, I'm going to allow everyone in. Just give everyone a moment to come in.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, there's a text from Jenny. She's working on getting in.
Where are you located, Simran?
I am at I'm at Georgetown University. I live in like the apartments kind of right off the Potomac, and right now I'm in the library.
Oh, nice.
And she found a nice small room in the library where it could be quiet. Thank you, Simran. Okay, Peter, tell me when.
Still people coming in.
Okay.
I think we're a little higher than usual for attendees tonight.
Okay, well.
We're stabilized at 33 people right now. So I think
Very
it's
good.
quick.
All right, am I ready to go, Peter?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, all, and welcome to ANC 2E's March 2022 meeting, which, thanks to the vagaries of the old Georgetown board calendar, is falling on February 28th this year. We will start right off with the administrative items. The first item is approval of tonight's meeting agenda, which has been circulated. The final version has been circulated to all the members of the commission. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, I would welcome a motion to approve the agenda. So moved by Commissioner Palmer. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. The agenda is approved. Second item, approval of the minutes of our January 31st, 2022 meeting.
Rick, I'm sorry. Was there a second on the agenda?
There was. It was Gwen.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes from our January 31st, 2022 meeting. Those also have been circulated. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I would welcome a motion to approve the minutes. Okay. I do see, and you beat me to the punch, Commissioner Palmer. But we had a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. The minutes are approved. But before we go any further, we have an introduction to make here. We just this past week, Simran Shrivastava, a student at Georgetown University, qualified for and was sworn in as a commissioner on ANC 2E, representing single member district 2E04. Simran, who is a native of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee to be precise, has been part of our community for several years while she's attending Georgetown. And she's been working very hard to get herself qualified to serve on this commission. And we are very pleased and very proud to have Simran with us tonight for our first meeting. Thank you, Simran. We all look forward. I'm sure my colleagues join me in saying we all look forward to working with you as we go forward.
Thank you so much.
Murphy, I would love it if Simran could just tell us the elevator version of kind of why she's here in her life, and
I think that's a fine idea.
what
Simran?
you need to know about Simran.
Yeah, of course, I would love to. Thank you all so much for welcoming me here. My name is Simran Shrivastava, and I'm originally from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I'm a current junior at Georgetown studying international politics and the Middle East. And I've always been interested in advocacy, and student rights. Kind of at Georgetown, I've been really involved with the Student Advocacy Office, which kind of creates relationship with administration and helps students kind of provide for their interests and know their rights on campus. I've also worked with immigration before as well. So yeah, and I'm really passionate about racial justice, and I really wanted to kind of give a voice for students in the community to be a part of the Georgetown and greater DC community, and not just in our little Georgetown University bubble. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you guys so much.
And Simran, how did your family come to be in Tennessee? And where are they originally from? Like, what's the immigration story?
Yeah, well, my parents moved here from India after they got married, and they moved originally to Texas. So we're big Dallas Cowboys fans. And my dad kind of got his PhD.
We're not
and
going to hold that against you. We'll try not to hold that against you.
Yeah, and so my dad is a marketing professor. He has kind of just moved around to different states in the South, just kind of part of his job as being a professor. So now we've landed, he teaches at Middle Tennessee State University. So that's kind of how we ended up there. And the story of us being in the South is pretty much that my parents wanted to live somewhere where it was warm. So that's that.
And are
Very good.
you, so your parents are both Indian and they came here together, and you are one of how many children? And are you the oldest, the youngest? Like, give us your profile.
Yeah, most of my family is in India. I have some relatives here, but I have an older brother. He recently graduated from with his master's from the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And yeah, so he currently works in data science, something along those lines. And I am the youngest, and it is only us here. And I just wanted to kind of move to a bigger city and just study international politics. And that's why I thought Georgetown would be the place to be. And I am so in love with it. So I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, well, thank you.
Are
Sarah.
adorable. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And as I say, we look forward to working with you. And for those of you who do not know, Murfreesboro is located in Rutherford County, Tennessee, immediately adjacent to Williamson County, where my 3 grandchildren live. So, oh, good. Next item up is our monthly public safety and police report. I'm hoping Lieutenant Merzick is on the line.
Lieutenant Mercig, if you are here, if you could raise your hand, or if you're dialing in via phone, it's *9 on your phone.
He has changed his shift, so that he might be running a little late.
Yep, I do have him here.
Okay.
There we go.
Lieutenant Mercig, you may have to unmute yourself by dialing *6, *6 on your phone.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, glad to be back. Yes, I missed last month's meeting because we had a homicide in Georgetown, unfortunately. But I happened to be right in the block when that happened. I was, kind of monitoring Georgetown as I usually do throughout my shift. And when that call came out, we had units on that scene, I think within 20 seconds. But unfortunately, we still have suspects outstanding in that case. We have a person of interest that if you are interested in potentially helping us out with the closure with this, if you recognize this person, it's we have a picture up on our MPD Twitter page if you follow Twitter. And I can get that to Peter or anybody else if we want to push that out to your guys' listserv later today, if anybody's interested. So other than that, I know that was a kind of a hot topic for everybody in Georgetown, and most of the 2nd District. So you may have seen we've got increased patrols with that, and as of lately, combining several trucker convoys coming to DC, along with our current state of foreign affairs between Russia and the Ukraine. The department is on a full activation. So you probably see truckloads of officers zipping around Georgetown and greater DC at that, just trying to kind of anticipate where any problems might come up. So if there's going to be some disruption with both those events, the Ukrainian embassy is right on M Street. The Russian embassy is just up Wisconsin. So both of those are in close proximity and affect us as a PSA. So it's in our backyard. So just be cognizant of that. Know that there might be some disruptions along M Street if there's any kind of protesters forming or marching. But know that between us, the Secret Service, and several other federal partners that we're working with, we're kind of closely monitoring all these situations that seem to be happening right at once, right in our backyard. So it's never a dull day in Washington, D.C. Just a high level review. Our property crime is actually down this month significantly, about 50%. So that's all of our burglaries, theft from autos, stolen autos, all that kind of stuff. So that's a positive indicator. Whether that had to do with the cold weather in February, that usually does play a factor in all that stuff. So as the weather starts to improve, just make sure you're not leaving anything in your vehicles. That would be a tempting item to break your window and steal out of your car, take your keys with you, all that good stuff. I don't think I have anything else as far as our public safety update for the month. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to them.
I'll start off, Lieutenant, with one question, if you can answer it. With respect to the homicide that took place on January 31st, has your department been able to determine whether the perpetrator knew the victim, or was this just random?
It seems random, but I mean, it's, we have to be careful with what we release, but what I can say publicly is that there was some kind of altercation prior to the homicide occurring between the two parties. So there was some kind of knowledge of each other before this took place. So it definitely doesn't seem like it was a random act of violence where somebody just walked up to somebody, another complete stranger on the street, and then shot them. So there's definitely some kind of correlation between the two, but at this point we can't make any comment as to what that may or may not be.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Lieutenant Merzick? Okay, and that includes from members of the public. Peter, has anybody raised their hand?
If anyone has a question for MPD or a comment, and this goes for any point during the meeting as well, you can raise your hand with the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen, or dial *9 if you're on a phone. That's *9. Questions for MPD?
In
Okay.
the meantime, I'll just thank Lieutenant Merzick and everybody for their really super great, they've communicated with us on every single level. It's been great. We're very thankful to you, Lieutenant Merzick.
Yes, thank you very much, Lieutenant Merzick, and
Thank you
for taking time to be with us this evening. Okay, next up, I believe we have Councilmember Pinto, who would like to speak to us this evening.
We do. Councilmember Pinto, give me 1 second. She's going to come through as a panelist.
Very good.
And I will note we also have Brian here tonight as well.
Yeah. Hello, Councilmember. Well, welcome to ANC 2E, and thank you for coming to speak with us this evening.
Absolutely. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. And as Peter noted, we have Brian Romanowski on our team, who I know is in contact with many of you often and enjoys coming to these meetings, but thrilled to be here with you tonight. And I also want to share my congratulations and welcome with Commissioner Shrivastava, who I had the pleasure of swearing in last week, and we're really looking forward to working with you, Commissioner. So I wanted to just give a couple of brief updates about some of our community events, some of what we're advocating for in the budget, and then make sure we have, most importantly, time for question and answer so I can hear from you all. It was really nice to see some of you. Last month, I was visiting the DeBarton United Methodist Church to mark their 250th anniversary. And as the weather gets warmer, we're really excited to host an in-person office hours with ANC 2E. So please be on the lookout for that in the near future. This week marks the end of our agency performance oversight hearings that the council's been having for the last 6 weeks or so, where various agencies, as well as public witnesses and government witnesses, come to testify before the council. And we ask many of the questions that we hear from you all throughout the year to hold our agencies accountable and make sure that they're the best, most effective partners with us as possible. The mayor will be sending, so I sent my budget request letter to the mayor on February 3rd. And we are advocating for many Ward 2 projects, which I'll talk about in a moment, and priorities both in our capital budget and our operating budget that we think are going to be really important to ensure our Ward 2 values and projects and priorities are enhanced and improved. The mayor will be sending the council her proposed budget in about 2 weeks on Wednesday, March 16th. Then we'll go through the budget, hopefully celebrate many of the exciting pieces that are included, and then we'll have budget oversight hearings with all of our agencies. I'll work with all of our committees to try to get as many of our Ward 2 projects as possible funded, and then the budget will go through the committee of the whole, and the entire council will have an opportunity to vote, and that whole process will be finalized by mid-July to start our next year's budget cycle. That will come into effect October 1. So I know that's kind of a lot of dates to throw at you, but want you all to know that that is what we're going to be focused on this spring is our budget process. So there are many, and I'll ask Brian to include Ella Hansen's email as well, who, if you have any budget related questions for our office, she will be the best point of contact for that. Her name is Ella Hansen. So her email is ehansen@dccouncil.us. So I want to start in our budget priorities talking about public safety, because improving public safety is our top priority. It's what we hear most often about from residents. And we know that the violence that we've continued to endure is really unacceptable. And I share your frustration and know that we as a city have to do much more to keep all of our residents safe. Our DC government, our federal partners, and all of our neighbors have been working together on this prospect. Since joining the council, I've focused on finding comprehensive approaches to addressing public safety and justice. I've joined neighbors and MPD for public safety walks throughout the neighborhood and throughout Ward 2 for tours and ride-alongs, and been meeting with many of the agencies in our public safety apparatus to figure out how we can improve public safety. In my budget request, Mayor, I'd asked for increased funding for community-based Metropolitan Police Department officers to patrol our neighborhoods on bike and on foot. And I'm supporting bolstering our MPD cadet training program so that our officers are based in our community and have grown up in the community that they serve. I'm also advocating for expanding funding for our violence interruption programs and our out of school time programs to address the root causes of gun violence and crime. We increased our out of school time budget last year by 20%. And I think that that should happen again this year so that our young people can be supervised and engaged in holistic, comprehensive activities from sports to the arts to other academics, and ensure that they're supervised. And we're also trying to expand our violence interruption programs to throughout the city and including to Ward 2 neighborhoods. We've been meeting with the violence interruption programs out of the Office of Attorney General, out of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, as well as the Mayor's New Building Blocks program to bring some of these services and work to Ward 2. We have been focused on our schools. We know that in-person school time is really critical for our young people, for their development. and for our families. And I've asked that DCPS provide our schools with adequate funding so that no staffing cuts are made this year. I've also asked the Department of General Services to modernize their work order request process so that we can have more transparency around the infrastructure that our schools need. And I just want to commend the work and advocacy and partnership of your ANC commissioners here in 2E who have kept me in our office abreast of so many needed updates to our schools in particular. And we're trying to ensure that DGS has a continued approach that allows for transparency and allows for all in the community to follow along when those updates have been made. I also requested $1 million for improvements for the Hardy Field and tennis courts. I'm really concerned about the overcrowding issues that we're having at Hardy, and this is going to be top of the list of what we're asking on Thursday at our DCPS oversight hearing and how we're going to address some of those overcrowding issues. We have been focused on our seniors. Our senior residents have been greatly impacted by COVID-19 and often isolated by the pandemic. Ward 2 does not have a dedicated standalone senior center, and so I'll be working to make this a reality. This is one of the primary items I asked for on our budget list as well, and we know that our senior neighbors have done so much for our community, and I think it's really important that we have a dedicated community space for our seniors to engage and visit with one another. We know that intellectual stimulation and physical movement, socialization is so important to all of our health. Affordable housing and homelessness is a major priority for our office and for our work on the council. Helping our neighbors experiencing homelessness in particular and helping them move into safe, secure, stable housing has been an issue that we've been working on every day. We have more and more visible encampments that I know many of you all have noticed and are concerned about helping those neighbors. This past year in our budget, we have unprecedented tens of millions of dollars of housing vouchers to help move thousands of neighbors into housing. And so those vouchers are now being deployed, but it takes a bit of time. It's something I was just speaking with a few minutes ago with the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services about at our oversight hearing is we have all these vouchers, but we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to deploy the vouchers, to get people into housing, to ensure that the wraparound services for mental and physical health care are included in that process. And so it has not happened as fast as we would have liked to see it happen. Only about 1/3 of the available vouchers this year have been matched. And so that's something that we continue to press upon and make sure that all of our agencies who are involved in the housing mission have the resources they need to help folks move into housing. I'm happy to share the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services had a pilot program called the CARE Pilot, where 4 large encampment sites were selected for a model that offered expedited housing. So outreach workers would go to these sites for a few weeks, get a robust list of all of the residents living there, all of their needs, concerns, preferences for housing, and then expedited the process to move folks into housing. The last site on, I just say last as part of the pilot, but not the last as part of the mission, was on 25th and Virginia Avenue, and that just started. So there are still many residents to get housed in the coming weeks. But of those 4 sites, that's not even completed, 84% of the residents living there are now in stable housing. And so I'm really hopeful that this is a great model that we should be expanding for many of the other sites across the city where we see major encampments being established and continue to be established. And so that's something we'll be working on moving forward. I also requested $15 to $25 million investment for a new transitional housing site in Ward 2. One of the challenges that we see is not everybody is ready to live independently, or a unit may not be available for them, but it is still not safe to live outside. And so I think it's really important to have a transitional standalone housing site where folks can go while they await their housing, have the services not be kicked out in the morning like happens with all of our DC shelters now. People have to leave in the morning, which is another hurdle that we find to encouraging folks to move inside and not sleep on the street. Also called for the expansion of the emergency rental assistance program and the expansion of the Department of Behavioral Health's community response team, which diverts 911 calls to MPD for mental health professionals who can assist folks who are in crisis. Briefly, I want to mention some of our support for economic development in our small businesses. I introduced the Recovery Act recently, which helps incentivize the conversion of vacant office spaces to other uses, including affordable housing, retail, hotels, green space. This will be great for generating jobs in construction and other high growth industries, but also ensuring that we're learning from the pandemic. People are not all utilizing office space in the way that they were before, and want to make sure that this space is using its highest and best use and supporting our entire community. We are very focused on our small businesses. I know there's a lot of concern still in Georgetown around some of the retail space. One of the items I asked for in our budget is to include additional funding for our business improvement districts to use money to fill vacant ground floor retail space, particularly with prioritization to our small local minority and women-owned businesses. Tomorrow, the council is taking our final vote on the Reopen DC bill. This extends streeteries, the availability of streeteries through 2023. And I was really thrilled to work with ANC 2E and Chair Murphy on including language to ensure that ANCs receive notice when new streetery permits are going forward. I'll just note, I think there's more to be done in this space to ensure that the community has an input and a say when changes are happening to their streets and their neighborhoods, including with their restaurants. And that's something that we'll be working on a more permanent basis with DDOT's new proposed rules that are coming, as well as another bill that I introduced. So that bill I introduced is called the BEST Act, and that simplifies and streamlines the business licensing process so that all entrepreneurs can establish a business intuitively and don't need to hire an expert to kind of navigate our very arcane business licensing processes. And as part of that, I'd like to see more involvement with the ANCs to make sure that everyone in the community can be kept abreast of new business developments. The last budget item I want to mention is funding for the stormwater issues that we continue to see at Mount Zion and Female Union Band Society cemeteries. The cemeteries have suffered systemic neglect for years, and I think it's really important that we invest in the infrastructure improvements on Q Street and 27th and Mill Road to address the flooding and erosion of these historic burial plots. And thank you so much, Commissioner Miller, for your efforts in this regard as well. So lastly, I know it's the last budget thing, but last thing, I want to just flag our ANC redistricting process. So as many of you know, the council just went through our once in a decade redistricting process. So we welcomed 12,000 new neighbors to Ward 2. Nothing changed on our western border where Georgetown and Hillendale and Burleith and ANC 2E are, but we now have reunified all of Shaw back into Ward 2. And so if you'll join me in welcoming our Ward 2 neighbors. And now we've established an ANC redistricting task force who is tasked to help us with the ANC boundary lines. And I want to thank our 2E representatives, Monica Roche and Eric Langenbacher, who are serving on the task force, which as any of you who served on the task force know, it's a lot of work and not a lot of glory. And so we really appreciate their effort. All of their meetings are public. And I'll ask Brian as well to include a chat in the link for anyone who's interested in attending the meetings. There's been 6 meetings so far. There's 6 to go in the next month. The next one's tomorrow night at 6:45. And then that task force will be submitting to the council on April 1st, their proposed lines for the new ANC boundaries. And then the council will have a hearing followed by votes. So I will stop there, and I just want to thank you all again for your continued partnership, and happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Pinto. I know we're going to have some questions. We'll start with questions from the commissioners. We've got 2 commissioners with their hands raised. Commissioner Miller, got hers raised first, so Commissioner Miller?
Oh, gosh, that's me. So thank you. I'm so thankful and so generally thankful that you are our commissioner. So thank you. I think everybody feels like that way, that you are Brooke Pinto, our overall commissioner. So two things. Number one, your fund bill. Can you give us a little sense of why you introduced it, where things stand, and what we can do as an ANC commission to move the bill along? And then number two, there's all of these other things that are your priorities. Georgetown, where do we stand and how can we help you achieve kind of where you generally feel that you are? Like, how do Georgetown and you as Brooke Pinto, how do we come together and make a true synergy of ourselves?
Well,
Thank you,
thank you
Commissioner
so
Miller.
much. Oh, sorry, Chair Murphy.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Councilmember Pinto. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Commissioner Miller, and thank you for your kind words. I feel the same way every day, that I feel so lucky to get to do this work. The Fun Act, and this wasn't planned, but it's because of you and Commissioner Puta that we introduced the Fun Act. And so fall of 2019, I came to one of your ANC 2E meetings, and you both were extremely concerned about the extension of a contract with Murray, and it had no public input, and people were really concerned about it. And that kind of led to a letter writing campaign and learning more about this issue and why DGS was involved in this contract without any public input, and thought it was really problematic. And once I joined the council, we started thinking more actively about how we could prevent this from happening in the future, to make sure that our public spaces that are just that, public spaces, that every resident has a right to either accessing or a right to knowing what's happening with, is involved in the process. And so we worked on the Fun Act to ensure that there is council oversight and approval for all of these license agreements that go on with private parties. There are very good, valid reasons why contracts should go on with private entities, but that should be fleshed out in the public. There should be community engagement. There should be hearings. We should all be on the same page with it. So we introduced the Fun Act. So the current status of that is that it has been referred to the Committee for Youth Recreation Affairs that Councilmember Tran White chairs, with comments from the Committee on Business and Economic Development. It's a little bit complicated, but that's slightly different than being duly referred. So how it will likely happen is Councilmember Tran White's committee will have a hearing, and then the Committee on Business and Economic Development can provide comments before a committee markup goes through. So we've asked this hearing to be prioritized. The committee is working with the budget office now and seeing if they could schedule that hearing as early as this March. So we'll hope for that, and ways to help with that, I'd say, are reaching out to the committee and letting them know it's a priority for the community to get that hearing scheduled as soon as possible.
Okay.
As to your second question about how we can best partner for all of our various priorities, I think one of the best ways, one of the things that would be most helpful for all of us is more collaboration with our at-large council members. Once it gets a little bit warmer out, one of the things I'm thinking about is walking tours. Would love to do this in 2E with some of you all and our at-large council members to kind of show them the issues that we're seeing, show them some of the vacancies, talk about our public safety concerns, because I think we have a lot of alignment with where we are, and I will continue advocating every day on behalf of Ward 2, but we need our at-large council members to hear from folks and to be partners in a lot of what we're working on.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Pinto. Commissioner Palmer was next.
Yes, thank you. This was a really helpful report. Thank you, Councilmember Pinto. I have questions about two topics. My first one's a little bit longer. My second one is really short. I was interested to hear about the vouchers for housing that you spoke about in the beginning. And I think you noted that only 1/3 of the vouchers have been matched with people so far. Something that I think a lot of us on this call are wondering is, would you be able to estimate what percent of the 2/3 of the unused vouchers are unused because they aren't reaching people properly versus the people who are living without a home are uninterested in being moved to government housing that's part of the voucher program? And then as a follow-up to that particular question, to concerns about people who are unhoused right now, I'm also interested in finding out, as part of the voucher program, if there is a mental health piece that coincides with housing vouchers, or how those two issues might work together in some way.
Sure. So really good questions. I'm just pulling up this number from my hearing today. So the pilot site, just to use as an example, so there are 4 sites as part of the pilot for engagement. And the deputy mayor reported that between 65 to 91% of the residents at each of those sites engaged. And the 65% they think is because that last site is not finished yet. So that tells me that engagement is really closer to 80 to 90%, which I think is really exciting, because extrapolating those numbers, we can have hope that if people are provided with the information they need, with access to housing, with some choice involved in that housing, then we'll be much more effective at encouraging people to move into those spaces. The mental health component is much more complicated. There are many individuals, and of course, we and DHS and the deputy mayor can't speak to individual cases, but there are many folks who may have a lot of questions or paranoia or concerns about moving into housing that takes a little bit more trust to be built, but that is able to be overcome, and it has been overcome in many circumstances. There are some people that need a lot more direct attention and services, and who are not going to be able to live independently. And so we have this cycle where, there are many people who are being arrested, and they're going to various hospitals or Psychiatric Institute of Washington and are being released without access to medication. Sometimes they're being instructed to get medication, but that's very different than being given the medication. And so those are other discharge problems that we're trying to handle in our Judiciary Committee capacity. But in terms of the encampment team and the vast majority of folks who are living either unsheltered outside or who are waiting on wait lists in shelters, we have found that when they've been given the option to get housing and worked with appropriately with the appropriate wraparound services, the vast majority of them have accepted that help.
And so it sounds like what you're saying is the wraparound services can be part of the housing voucher program.
So the permanent supportive housing vouchers include wraparound services, which is why they take a bit longer, because it's not as though we can say, okay, we have 3,000 vouchers now, everybody come pick one up and we'll see you another time. It is comprehensive, making sure that there could be on-site in many circumstances, mental health supports, physical health supports, in some circumstances helping people get their kids to school. There are all these other components to it, which is why we think it's the most effective form of housing voucher, but it takes much more time to ramp up. And as the deputy mayor said today, we have the funding now to house everybody, but we are just now building the infrastructure to get it off the ground. And so I hope that we'll get more folks matched in the next 7 months while these vouchers are available. But I continue to push on it because it doesn't seem to be happening quickly enough.
Thank you for that explanation. I think that's important to everyone that's on the call right now. And then my very short follow-up is, did I hear you say that 12,000 more people are joining Ward 2? And do they all have RPP parking spots?
Yes, so with redistricting, nothing changed about school boundary lines, and nothing changed. I'm looking at Brian, I saw him do a face, is this right? But nothing changed with parking. So if a resident had a zone 6 sticker before, they will still be zone 6 in Shaw.
Oh, so they don't get Ward 2.
Okay, zone 2s. Okay, but will they at some point be eligible for zone 2 stickers?
I don't think so. I think that how we kind of left it with the committee report at the time was most residents, and not just in Shaw, but throughout the city who were moving, were most concerned about their residential parking close by to their house being altered. And so we just kept it the same. So
Okay.
I don't think that there are plans to change that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Well, moving on to the next commissioner question, Commissioner Lopes.
Thank you, Councilmember Pinto. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing. And it was, my question was similar to Commissioner Palmer's with the vouchers. And I just want to emphasize, if you or your staff, and Brian has been fantastic, have any way for us to get engaged in the pilot that you mentioned that you thought was very successful, and get it over to Georgetown and get it over here quickly. We obviously work closely with all the partners, and Georgetown Ministries coming on later tonight to talk about the voucher program. We would love to have that involved in our community. So let us know. And then my second question was, can you explain a little bit more? We're all very interested in the vacant retail spaces. And we just last week, I think, we had a call with our bid about that issue, but maybe 2 weeks ago. And I know right now they can't work to recruit for the vacancies. And can you talk a little bit how that would change and what the proposal is?
I'm sorry, just to clarify, when you say they can't,
We were told by the bid, and Lisa's the representative, she can speak to it more eloquently. But right now, the mission of the bid isn't focused on recruitment for vacancies. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit more about when you mentioned the work that would happen with the bid, how would it work? What do you foresee would happen?
I think to clarify, my understanding is that the bid doesn't lease space. I mean, they have an economic development person who clearly looks to whose job it is to market the neighborhood and ultimately bring people to Georgetown, but they don't lease space themselves.
But they're definitely recruiting businesses to come to Georgetown, just not for
The economic
specific locations.
development. So how would this new piece help more? And I'm just curious, I was very glad to hear the news, and I think it's a great idea. I just want to learn a little bit more.
yeah, sure. And in terms of the bid with Georgetown, I don't have these exact numbers before me, but I think that something like 31 new businesses have opened in Georgetown in 2021. And I think there are about 25 or 27 net positive leases. So it's trending in the right direction, but these vacancies that we all see continue to be a major concern. They're not good to look at. I think it's better for public safety when there's robust leased out spaces, better for surrounding businesses. So we know that we have to address it. And I haven't yet been able to come up with one silver bullet, for lack of a better expression, to do this. I've thought about various tax policy proposals that could disincentivize a landlord to leaving vacant space. There are some reasons we didn't go down that route path. And so one of the things that I hope will make a difference is if we give every bid, I think we put it in our budget letter, $500,000 for each bid to help specifically with new businesses lease up space. So if some businesses need help paying their first month's rent, maybe they have a really great idea for a business, they're going to become liquid soon, but they haven't been in operation yet, so they have no money to pay their rent. Helping a new business with window dressing and making their store exciting to passerbyers. We've had some businesses who needed additional help with utility services or purchasing a refrigerator. Something that's not necessarily so much money, but that is prohibitive to getting their business off the ground. And we think the bids will be in the best position to disperse some of this money and to have the flexibility so that each business can work with the bid on what their needs are, as opposed to just saying this money can only be used for XYZ purpose, which is not necessarily helpful to each business. So that's kind of the idea there that I'm hoping the mayor agrees with me and includes in her proposal.
Great.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Puda had something he wanted to say. Commissioner?
Thank you very much, and thanks for your time, Councilmember Pinto. And we appreciated that you're supporting the Hardy PTO and their requests for improvements. They've been asking a long time for lots of different improvements, and the field is definitely something that needs to get improved. So making that budget request is very helpful to hear. So we appreciate that. As you know, they're also asking and mentioning that there's lots of things that they need improved at the school, and so it's great to hear that you're making that a priority for discussions. One item on today's agenda will be, since they don't have an adequate field or regulation field or a home field at all nearby and travel very far for home games, as you know, the old Georgetown Day School at MacArthur, it's now, as far as we know, owned by DC government and managed by DCPS, and they're figuring out what to do with it. But the field, in the meantime, is just sitting there, and it is very nice. I was there just recently. Hardy is about to start with their spring sports schedule, and they would like to ask DCPS if they can find a way to let them use it in any way, shape, or form. It's not that far. I hope you can hear me. But that is on our agenda to vote to support that. We hope you would as well. And thank you again for your support on JELF. And hopefully we're on record about asking for a community improvement team of community representatives. And I know that you've been asked about that. We hope to have your support on that too.
Thank you, Commissioner Puda. And I know Councilmember Pinto has given us a lot of time this evening, but now let's move to members of the public. First up, Rachel Shank.
Rachel, you may, oh wait, sorry. Rachel, I lost you for a second. Rachel, you may have to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, Councilmember Pinto. It's great to have you here tonight. We love seeing Brian, but it's also great to have you as well. I just had a quick praise and also question. Thank you so much for the work that you did in preparation for fiscal year 22 in extending the Wisconsin Avenue Great Streets corridor. I was able to help a couple of businesses apply for the Great Streets grant. And DEMPED is also, they've created a couple other grants that use the Great Streets corridor as an eligibility requirement. And so this year, I'm also able to help businesses apply for grants beyond the Great Streets grant. So that has been wonderful. I'm curious if we need to work together to further codify that extension, or kind of because it's happened this year, we can take it for granted in future years.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you for all the work you do with Georgetown Main Streets on behalf of so many of our businesses. It's been great to see the support that they've had, and in partnership with you, and the Takeout Tuesdays mission is wonderful as well. So the answer is yes, we do need to codify it. We're actually working with DEMPED and the Committee on Business Economic Development on this now. I want to be very careful in the language I use here because it's called a Great Streets Corridor. And so, of course, the mission is to revitalize and ensure that corridors have the support they need to support our small businesses. But there are some side streets of those corridors that I would argue are kind of part of the ecosystem of the corridor that have been inadvertently left out. And so I am trying to expand the definition even further to include some of those side streets while still maintaining the mission of the Great Streets Corridor grant program, but being as inclusive as we can be. And that's something I'm working on language now. Ella Hansen on our team is the best point of contact for that if there are specific areas of concern that you have, Rachel. But we're working with the Business Economic Development Committee so that it's a permanent law, so that we don't have to go through this process every year.
That's great. Thank you so much. I will follow up with Ella. And also, Georgetown Main Street's boundaries do extend half a block from Wisconsin Avenue. So there is precedent there with a corridor, if that's helpful. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Rachel. Peter, do we have any other members of the public who have a question?
Not seeing any. Oh, we just got one. Sue Rutledge. Sue, you may have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
We can.
Very good.
Hi, Sue.
Thank you very much. Hi, Rick. Hi, council members, members of the ANC. I wanted to ask our council member, a very excellent council member, what is the status of the particular wording in the Reopen DC legislation with regard to restaurants opening their summer gardens and not requiring a special permit? My concern is that without getting a summer garden permit, it's not possible to negotiate settlement agreements. And those agreements are critically important to ensuring good relations between the local residents and restaurants. We understand restaurants are in a bad position now, but we still think it's important to have good relations with residents. And my concern is if there's not that mechanism in place, residents will start to oppose all restaurants coming in. So could you advise what is the current status of that part of the legislation?
Sure. And thanks so much, Sue. And I will preface in saying I don't have a completely satisfactory answer on this because I completely agree with you from a policy perspective. And I tried to include that process in the Reopen DC bill so that there would be an opportunity for settlement agreements for these summer gardens and outdoor streeteries, especially because we're extending them through 2023, which I think is excellent. But we really want to make sure that there's a process in place. Over the last 2 years, everything's been expedited because our restaurants were in dire need of support, and many of them are still struggling, but it's time, I think, to have established processes in place and a little bit return to an environment that ANCs are more involved and that settlement agreements are more possible. I was unsuccessful in that mission. And so what we compromised to is that ANCs are now required to have notice of all of these new spaces, including our summer gardens. And so my hope is that in the interim for the next 2 years, really 1.5 years once it's implemented, that notification of ANCs will lead to involvement of the community and opportunity to say, hey, here are some concerns we have. Can we still negotiate a settlement agreement? For a longer term basis, I think that we should be including that process in the permanent solution. And DDOT is going to soon be beginning writing the permanent rules. And so that's something that I'll be working with the ANC commissioners on, is ensuring that in those permanent rules, that opportunities for settlement agreements are still provided.
Well, if I may for a moment, Councilmember Pinto, DDOT's rules, I do not believe would apply to summer gardens, which are spaces used to serve restaurant patrons on private space. Now, is ABRA doing anything about permanent rules? Now, as you say, the situation where you can move into private space in a summer garden without going through the process of getting your license amended will only last until 2023. But as you know, I'm with you, Councilmember Pinto, and very much with Ms. Rutledge about having concerns about what this might mean in private space that abuts residences. So is there anything we can do over the course of the next year and a half to address this issue?
So I was just looking for a note I took on this earlier, that for the summer garden provision, ANC notice is required for any area that's not currently covered by a liquor license or storefront. So the
Right.
ANC notification should still be a requirement, even in the event it's a summer garden.
Right, I understand that, but I don't think the DDOT rules are going to apply to summer gardens because they're not on
I
public
see. You
space.
mean for our permanent plan, for our next plan?
Yeah.
I think that you are right. I don't know if ABRA is in the process or where they are in the process of working on permanent rules, but we can certainly follow up with them and see if we can, once we work out the language for the DDOT provision, perhaps we can just mirror that for the ABRA process.
I just
Thank
want
you,
to,
Councilmember.
I want to fully support that because we have so many mixed use areas and that could become very problematic for our constituents.
Yeah.
So please let us know how we could work with you on that.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember. Peter, is anybody else in public, among the public raise their hand?
That is it.
All right, Councilmember Pinto, thanks as always for taking time to spend time with us. This has been very useful to find out just exactly what's going on. You wouldn't be willing to come every month, would you?
Oh, I'd love nothing more.
I guess that'd be kind of greedy, but thanks very much for taking time with us, and thank you for all you do.
I've got a little control of my own schedule these days, Chair Murphy. Otherwise, I'm here. But thank you all. Look forward to seeing you in the community soon. We'll do community office hours in person. Would love to meet others of you who haven't had a chance to meet. And thank you to all of our commissioners for your excellent partnership and advocacy on behalf of your neighbors. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Go home and get some rest.
We also love Brian.
Okay, yes, indeed.
Thank you to Brian.
But we know you're staying with us, right?
Yeah, I'll be here till midnight. No, we couldn't do anything without Brian. So thank you so much, Brian, for all of your help.
Thank you,
Brian.
Okay, next up, we've got an update from the mayor's office, and I'm assuming that's Anna Noakes. Anna, are you on?
We do have Anna. Just give me a second. She's coming through as a panelist. Really quick though, Kishan, could you just test your mic again real quick? We might have fixed the problem.
Hi. Thank you. Let me.
Oh yeah, much better, much better. All set.
Much better. Yeah.
Much better.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Anna, it's over to you, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I did not get to attend last month's meeting due to the incident that did happen in Georgetown. So it's nice to be here this month. I just have a few quick updates for everyone. I won't take up too much of your time. And then as always, I will put my contact information in the chat, and feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. Whatever. As I'm sure most of you know by now, as of February 15th, indoor venues are no longer required to verify that people are vaccinated. However, businesses may choose to keep this vaccination requirement in place. This is due to the fact that since the height of the Omicron wave in DC, COVID-19 cases have dropped by more than 90%, and there's been a 95% reduction in hospitalizations. Keeping with that trend, as of tomorrow, the indoor mask mandate is dialed back. So masks will still be required in certain situations. So for starters, any private businesses that want to continue to require the usage of masks are able to do so. And masks will still be able to, or will still be required in schools, libraries, nursing homes, shelters, public transportation, and DC government facilities where people are interacting with the community. Next, I have a DPW update. So DPW will begin, I should say, street sweeping tomorrow, March 1st, and this will continue through October 30th. So just as a reminder, motorists, please obey the posted signs that are indicated for the schedule for street sweeping.
Anna, I just quick before everybody gets confused, we don't get our streets swept in Georgetown.
I should have known that. Never mind. Ignore that. Well, alley cleaning is beginning in April, as well as graffiti removal. So during the winter months, DPW is unable to remove the graffiti due to the chemicals that they use and the temperature, the way that they interact. So as it begins to warm up, graffiti removal will begin again. So you can call 311 to request graffiti removal services. Just a quick thing, if the graffiti removal is occurring on private property, there is a waiver of liability form that's provided and must be signed by the property owner. And I will also make sure that all the graffiti requests that have been put in during these winter months are prioritized by DPW. So those do not get lost. And then alley cleaning. So DPW will be resuming residential alley cleaning between April 1st and July 31st. They operate on a schedule, but residents can call 311 or use the app to request alley cleaning for alleys that pose a hazard to public safety or are inaccessible for emergency vehicles. And then the last thing, this Saturday, Mayor Bowser and the District of Columbia Housing Finance Agency and also community members, including Councilmember Buck Pinto, broke ground on parcel 42. So this is DC's first mixed use and affordable housing building, I believe in Ward 2, although do not quote me on that. It has 110 units, 108 of those units will be affordable housing. And this will be constructed on 7th Northwest and Rhode Island Ave, which is newly part of Ward 2 and has been a vacant lot for, I believe, 20 years now. So that's very exciting. And it's getting the district 108 homes closer to their goal of 12,000 new affordable homes by 2025. So those are all the updates I have to provide right now. And again, I'll put my contact information in the chat and I'm happy to answer questions.
Does any member of the commission have a question for Ms. Noakes? Hearing none. Any from members of the public or any hands up, Peter?
Not seeing any.
Okay, Anna, thank you as always. We look forward to seeing you again next month.
Awesome, thank you, and I'll be on.
Stay safe. Thank you very much.
And Anna, I'll keep you on as a panelist just so you can finish up with the chat if you need to.
Okay, next up is an update from DDOT, the District Department of Transportation, and I believe Donovan Boyd, our liaison with DDOT, should be on the call.
Donovan is coming through as a panelist.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can. Good evening, Donovan.
Excellent. Well, good evening, everyone. To those of you who don't know me, my name is Donovan Boyd. I'm the Ward 2 Community Rep in the Community Engagement Division for DDOT. I'll go ahead and start by saying congratulations and welcome to Commissioner Srivastava. We are excited to work with you. And I also want to thank everyone, commissioners, members of the public, Councilmember Pinto and her staff as well for all of their work on the agency performance oversight hearings, including DDOT's, which was 2 Fridays ago. You all certainly gave us a hard time. That is, exactly what it is designed for. And we got a lot of really good feedback. So I just want to thank everyone for taking time to, list their issues, comments, concerns, the off congratulations as well. Do really appreciate it. So tonight, mainly, I am here because, as the commissioners may know, as you all do, actually, there was a resolution response we sent out about it. But the TSI, the traffic safety investigation process, kind of our main form for the public to look at, dangerous or unsafe traffic situations and request any type of change to the configuration, was changed back in November. However, we have finalized the kind of the rest of the presentations and outreach about it. So I've been asked to come here and share a quick presentation about this new revamped process with you all. I will try to make it as brief as possible in the interest of time. So I'll go ahead and share my screen quickly here. So this is our new TSI process. Commissioners, there's some stuff with ANC resolutions as well. I will skip that for the meeting in the interest of time and send that to you via email. So a traffic safety investigation, as many of you know it, a TSA, as it was called, is now a TSI investigation. As I said, it can be used for a variety of traffic safety issues, such as traffic calming, pedestrian safety. And the main people who work on this are our Traffic Engineering and Safety Division. These are the engineers and the transportation planners who take a look at the physical or the actual 311 request to investigate the issue, collect data, and see if measures can be implemented to improve the situation. The old process obviously included written ANC endorsement and a separate questionnaire. As the main change in November, this is no longer the case. This is to improve the speed by which we can process through these. We had quite a few TSAs that were rejected because they didn't have the proper backup documentation from the ANCs. So we found that, this has been a good change. Our new process is, the same in terms of review as the old one, but again, these are just changes we've made to streamline things. Commissioners, the page you see on the left, I sent out and I will send it again on the right. But the new process starts out with a resident calling or going to 311.dc.gov. That's this website here. And you're going to want to request a traffic safety investigation. This is a list of all the different things you can do on 311. This includes a lot of things that DPW covers as well, such as trash. But again, for the traffic safety investigation, you are going to want to go here. And basically, you can put in an address and it will allow you to fill out details that we will look at directly as the engineering and safety team. So a lot of requests are not improperly filed, but they don't contain the most specific information. So what I would urge you to do if you are going on and filing requests is be as specific about the location as possible. Additionally, if you see on the right here, upload a file, this will be on the webpage. Please include a picture if you do have it. Again, it will help us identify the issue a lot, faster. As part of the 130-day TSI review process, this is after you submit it, our team and engineers actually go ahead and review this issue. And so this is where they collect data. If it's about speeding, they will collect data regarding how many cars are over, going over the speed limit. If it's about a stop sign issue, how many cars run stop signs, or how many, near collisions are made at stop signs or intersections with insufficient signage. Now, step 3 in this process, and this is where we see many issues and complaints from residents, the process will be completed. And so even if the answer is, we have no mitigations to do, we don't think that anything is necessary here, or, the engineering and safety team says, yes, we are going to implement XYZ changes, regardless of this result, the TSI, the one you submitted and got email updates about, will be closed. Because that part, the investigation is now complete. And there should be comments on the bottom of the closed message that will let you know whether or not further mitigations are being taken. So another issue we see a lot is people say, oh, I had this request completed and I haven't seen any changes. Why is that? So we have just made a new publicly available traffic safety investigation dashboard. And this is the link right here. I will stay on after this and put this link in the chat. But this is our public-facing dashboard. So this will allow you to track all of the current traffic safety investigations that are going on within the district. There are separate tabs right here, as you can see, pending DDOT review. So this is the step where after you submit a TSI, again, there's a 130-day period. You can come here to see that, okay, it's still pending the review. This is pending data collection. So this is if, they're speeding and they're taking data, you can come here and check and you will see, which items are pending collection. And finally, once the TSI has been closed, regardless of, well, actually that's the next tab. So if it has been closed and they say there are mitigations coming, this is where the pending installation tab comes in, and you'll be able to see which locations, mitigations have been selected, and where they are. And then the final tab is closed. And this is closed whether, mitigations have or haven't been decided upon. So this is another place you can come to check out, where these things are. And again, these tabs below here, these are easier ways to search. So if you have a 311 ticket, you can enter the actual number it gives you right here. So anything entered last year will be 21 dash numbers. You can also just search directly for your 2E SMDs, and you can search that way as well. So we are hoping, this is pretty new dashboard, and we are hoping that this will, help a lot of TSIs from slipping through the cracks or answer some questions you may have about any pending work going on. So I'll go ahead and stop the screen share now. Is there any way for me to just go back to regular mode? Sorry, commissioners.
We are.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I am sure, you are all rolling your eyes and saying what a remarkably talented presentation. I have about 55 TSIs that need addressing. Worry not, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help address anything that, we haven't gotten updates on in a while. So commissioners, I actually am sending you an email with the presentation, and I would also like to schedule some one-on-ones with you, as well as an intro call with Commissioner Shrivastava. I don't have many direct updates going on right now. I will just say I know there's another update in the agenda for the, just been formulated Georgetown Transportation Access and Circulation Study. So obviously we are very excited for that. And I will also say that we are, constantly working with the Mount Zion and Oak Hill cemeteries, Ms. Lisa Fager as well, on trying to make sure that the site is secure while we are waiting for the National Park Service to undergo a ground penetrating survey late in March. As a personal request, if you know anyone who is using that portion of Rock Creek Trail, we have seen a unprecedented spike in behavior of people moving, signage, fences around just to use the trail when, this is blocked off area and possibly can contain funerary artifacts. I work with Ms. Fager and our DDOT site teams to, constantly redo this fencing, and not, it will continue to be a problem, but if you know anyone who is using that section of the trail, please urge them to go around or turn around. But we've just seen a lot of people messing with the fencing. So would really appreciate if you could get the word out that this is a sensitive area and that we are, awaiting to be able to work on that. That's about it. Go ahead and leave it up to the commissioners and the public for questions. And commissioners, I'll be sending you an email right now to schedule some one-on-ones. So if there is anything, you have a question that's not a super pressing hot topic, I ask that you wait, but if there anything is, please obviously raise your hand and I'm happy to address it. Thank you.
Commissioner Lois has already raised her hand, so go ahead, Commissioner Lois.
Hi, Donovan. Thanks for coming tonight. Can you explain a little bit more about this, the TSI? I haven't looked at it in detail, to what types of changes it encompasses, and how say you had several TSIs in an area, how would you evaluate them together?
Sure. So basically the area of study for a traffic safety investigation should be limited to no longer than a block or a block in an intersection or so. Anything more is just too much. Our engineers, have to look at this on a very case-by-case, small-scale basis. So if there is an issue of, say, for example, some of your partners in 2A, there are many issues with the Virginia Avenue bike lane. If you were to put in a TSI, for about the bike lane, there's 4 intersections in the row that are issues, you would need to make one for each of those intersections, which seems a bit counterproductive, but just because of the amount of people we have reviewing these, that's, just the way that it will work the best for us to review. So again, we ask you keep it around 1 intersection or, most of a block and an intersection maximum.
So can you, for the layman's on the phone, including myself, could you explain when you say with 1 block, what that could mean? Would it mean a speed bump or a stop sign? The different types of things that you would roll out based upon a 311
Sure.
request?
Thank you.
And I assume it's from one individual that this request would come from. This could
Right.
come from.
Yes,
Okay.
again, this will come from any individuals. And I know you all, just a quick note to the commissioners, I know you all have been worried about the removal of the ANC endorsement, but again, anything resulting from a TSI that would involve any change in the configuration of traffic, such as a speed bump or any vertical deflection, or a change in the configuration would require an NOI or some sort of presentation and feedback with the ANC. But in terms of your question, Commissioner, basically, if there's anything that you see as a resident, as a commissioner, that you think, there's a lot of things that come to us that, there's a sign that's down that needs to get put back up, or this traffic signal is broken. Those should not be a TSI. We have separate requests within 311 for those. They can be addressed quickly and do not require much brain power. If you're out and about and you think, these parking signs don't accurately reflect what's going on this street, or, maybe there has been, you believe a intersection with 2 stop signs might need an always stop, or, somewhere should have high visibility flashers on a crosswalk because you notice that cars speed through or don't respect the signage in the area. These are all good things to put a traffic safety investigation in for. Mainly we get them for speeding.
Thank you, Commissioner Lose. We do have a long agenda tonight, so Peter, has anybody in the public raised their hands? We could take 1 or 2 questions from the public before we move on.
Not right now, but I'll just say again, for the members of the public, at any point during the meeting, if you have a question, you can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen or dial *9 on phone.
And I will say, I'll be here for a little while to, if you could keep me on as a panelist for a little bit, Peter, so I can put some information in the chat. I'm also happy to, if any members of the public want to put any questions directly in the chat, I'll do my best to either address them directly or get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Boyd. We'll see you again next month. And probably see you between now and then. So thanks very much. Next up, we've got a presentation from the Office of Campaign Finance. Ms. Belinda Kittles-Perry, Peter, has been on and waiting to come on for that.
Yep, I'm putting Belinda through as a panelist. Belinda, you can turn on your camera if you'd like. You'll probably have to unmute yourself, and you can share your screen if you'd like, if you do have a presentation.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
We can.
We can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Commissioner. Thank you for having me, Commissioner Chair. I appreciate the invitation. My name, as you know, is Belinda Kittles-Perry. I'm a staff attorney advisor, actually, with the Office of Campaign Finance. I've been with the office 2 years. I initially came to the office as a policy analyst, initially after the launching of the Fair Elections Program, which, as you know, is one of the wonderful things that the Office of Campaign Finance has launched in the past year. The Office of Campaign Finance is broken down into five different sections: the Office of the General Counsel, Training and Development, the Report Analysis and Audit Division, Public Information Record Management Division, and the Fair Elections Division. The Fair Elections Division has gotten a lot of candidates since its opening in 2018. To date, we have 35 candidates. As you know, the first election cycle that was held was 2020, and that was the first full election cycle that participants of many areas participated in. And some of you are familiar with that program. Now, the reason that the Fair Elections Program was started, as you know, was to promote more involvement, community involvement, to downgrade dark money, and to level the playing fields for individuals. And I'm happy to say that this objective has been realized. And it's a very exciting time in the District of Columbia. As you know, it's a trend that is growing across the nation. There are 33 jurisdictions with fair election type-like programs. Some are hybrids, some are grants, some are matching funds, but ours is one of the more robust programs. And we've been very successful to date. So as you know, we have a primary scheduled for June 21st. We have a general election schedule for November the 8th of this year. And as I said, to date, we already have 35 participants registered for the Fair Elections Program. Last year, we had 36 candidates, and out of 17 candidates that were actually certified, 11 have actually won seats through this program. So it's something that's very exciting. It's something to level the playing field. It's something that has opened the doors for many individuals that might not normally seek to participate in the community process. And it sort of gives everyone equal footing. So it's something very exciting that we've embraced and we've continued to grow. As you know, the Office of Campaign Finance has the General Counsel's Office, and they're responsible for investigating matters, giving interpretive opinions, investigating any allegations of wrongdoing or fraud or abuse, and things of that nature. To date, we have had a very successful program launched through the Fair Elections Program. They have had probably 11 referrals to the Office of Campaign, to the Office of General Counsel, and we're ongoing and continuing. In addition, a component of the Fair Elections Program is the debate process. The debate process is triggered only for contested elections. In this election cycle for 2022, you will have the Office of Mayor, Attorney General, and campaign chairman and at large. So that will be a debate that will be launched. It will be virtual because of the pandemic. Unfortunately, we're not ready to go back into the public just quite yet. And that will be held similarly as it was held last year for smaller amount of candidates, but this time will be very robust. And so that should begin sometime before the June primary date. And in addition, the Office of Campaign Finance is very user-friendly. We try to be extremely transparent. Most of the information is put on the website so you can access just to know what forms are necessary to be used, to know what the criteria are, to know what the payout is. The payout is adjusted accordingly based on a accumulation of the past 4 elections, and it has gone up in some cases, and it's been adjusted downward in other cases. But as of the 2020 election, there was a payout of $4,016,797.64. And the payout is a combination of a lump sum payment in addition to matching payments, which are in the form of $5 for every $1 raised. So for instance, if someone is running for mayor, as we do have a very robust election this year for a candidate for mayor, there is a criteria where you have to have a threshold amount of contributions and a certain dollar amount to participate in the program. So a candidate for mayor must accumulate 1,000 small dollar contributions and for a total of $40,000. And the contribution for mayor. Then we have the attorney general, which would require 500 contributions in the amount of aggregate amount of $20,000. And it goes downward for each position, for ward chair and for wards and for at large, as well as for school board and school board at large. And so,
Okay, Ms. Perry, we're kind of running out of time here.
Okay, that kind of gives you an overview, concludes. If there's any specific questions that you want to ask, please feel free or check out our website. All the information on the reports are contained. And I just want to say this, there's a very comprehensive report that's required by statute that has been filed, and it can be found and accessed on the website, and it will give you all the details from soup to nuts on all of the payouts, contributions, and requirements. And audits are required for each participant in the Fair Elections program, as opposed to random audits in the traditional program.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Perry, for taking time to explain the Fair Elections program to us. Does any member of the commission have a question for Ms. Perry?
No, I just want to make a comment, Ms. Perry. Thank you for everything you do. I think it's so important to level the playing field and get more people involved. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
We all agree about that.
Okay, thank you for having me. Good day.
Any questions from members of the public, Peter? Anybody raise their hand? No. Well, Ms. Perry, thank you. And I know you were very patient waiting for your turn. So I very much appreciate the time spent with us.
Thank you. Thank you for fitting us in. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Right.
See you again. Take care.
Okay. Next up, we have an update from the Georgetown Ministry Center regarding emergency housing vouchers, which is a topic that was already addressed at some point in some form by Councilmember Pinto. Who is on for Georgetown Ministry Center? Well,
We should have the executive director of Georgetown Ministry on, who's an absolutely wonderful gem, and they're so lucky to have her. Kelly, are you on?
there she is.
Yep.
Kelly, you'll probably have to unmute yourself and you can turn on your camera if you'd like.
All right, thank you guys so much for having me today. I'm Kelly Andre. I know that I just wanted to give you guys an update. I'm Kelly Andre, I'm the executive director at Georgetown Ministry Center. And I know there's a discussion for a resolution later in the agenda, but just wanted to share some really exciting things that are happening on the front of homeless services in our city. The first thing I want to share is that the number of people that are sleeping outside in Georgetown is actually down 12% year over year from 2021 to 2022, based on our annual point in time count that is conducted every January. So we're seeing, and there was a really big increase from 2020 to 2021 in response to the pandemic, but we're seeing those numbers go back down in this year. And that is in large part because DC City Council passed a budget that significantly increased the amount of housing vouchers that are made available to chronically homeless individuals in our city. And in the past few months, we have been moving a record number of individuals off the streets, many of whom have been sleeping outside for over 10 years or more. And honestly, in my career of homeless services, I've never seen anything quite like the transformation that we are seeing currently. But in the past 4 months, GMC alone has had 60 of our guests, our regular guests, matched with housing vouchers. which is double the number of housing matches we did the entire previous year. And that was even double from the previous year. So in the month of February alone, across all of DC, there were 380 housing voucher matches made, which is an amazing scaling opportunity. So many people are moving into housing and off the streets. It's really an exciting time. I want to express that a lot of work is being done on this, and I'm really optimistic about the current trends. There is a massive shift in our city, and I believe it's revolutionizing homeless services here in DC. Well, I want to point out there's also this, though this has been a massive investment, there's still not enough to house all of the chronically homeless individuals in Washington, DC. And one of my hopes is that in this current budget cycle, that we'll see a further investment in this program. But we're doing a lot of, GMC is doing a lot of outreach to individuals and encampments, but also providing our drop-in center services to connect with people, move them off the streets and into housing and more stable situations. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Lowe's.
Kelly, thank you so much. And your experience and knowledge is amazing in this area, so thank you. The Councilmember Pinto talked about the 7 months and the time frame for the vouchers. Can you speak a little bit more about that and what kind of time commitment are we under and what does that mean for our community?
Yeah, so I mean, so one of the big things, there's a big, massive push. So as I mentioned, we did just under 400 matches in February. We're doing more matches that they have a goal. The Community Partnership to Prevent Homelessness has a goal to do even more than that in March. And we just really need to match people and move them into housing because we need to make those matches happen. Otherwise, we can possibly lose that funding and opportunity to house individuals. And I think that's what I unfortunately had to join late, so I missed Councilmember Pinto's remarks on this, but I believe that is what she was probably talking about.
What do you think happens after that time period? As we obviously as a community, as you know, this is a critical topic for us. And what do you think happens after that time period?
So I'm hopeful that we'll make all of those matches and move people into housing. The opportunity is if we don't, because this is a massive scaling, like we've never done anything like this in the city before. So there's a lot of resources and effort that are going into that, but it is a scaling issue. If we can't meet that scaling issue, I think it is up to that city council to continue to renew that investment in these programs because we're seeing some massive shifts. And that's, I think, what the key thing, right? The funding does expire at the end of the fiscal year, but there is an opportunity to renew some of that as well. There are federal dollars that are tied, incentives and tied to the matching in terms of how the budget works on that. And I don't know all of the details, to be honest, but so that's why we're trying to make this happen now. But there is opportunity for DC to continue this investment because of the kind of transformation that we're seeing. And I mean, in terms of the human rights of all of the citizens of Washington, DC, prioritizing housing for everyone.
If I may, Kelly, what I hear you and heard Councilmember Pintos telling us is that the city has devoted, so to speak, record-breaking resources to try and address this issue. And where we are now is in the process of having the organization catch up to make sure the money's well spent and we get the result we all are hoping for.
Absolutely, yes. And there are certain barriers in that kind of scaling that you have that are slowing down some of that process, but it's still, again, happening really quickly. I mean, again, it's happening faster and at a scale unlike anything that I've seen in my 16-year career of working in homeless services in DC.
Great, Kelly. Any other questions from members of the commission? Peter, has any member of the public raised their hand?
Not seeing any right now.
Okay, well, Kelly, thank you so much for taking time to be with us, and thank you for all the work you do and for all the members and supporters of your organization. It's a great one, of which we in Georgetown are, for which we are thankful and of which we are very proud.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Thank you. Okay, next we have an update about the really large gas bills many of our constituents have received from Washington Gas. Commissioner Lowe's?
Yep, so we have a full-on change of all the Washington Gas liaisons that we typically work with. And we have 3 new people that are on today that represent stakeholder engagement, customer experience, and also, as many of you know, that Project Pipes piece that they're investing a significant amount of money to upgrade all our pipes in the coming years. And so there's 3 people from Washington Gas on, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we knew the old people and we're going to get to know the new people. And thank you guys for coming on, and I'll let
and
3 of
we'll
them
be
introduce.
happy. We're looking forward to meeting all 3, but again, we've got a long agenda tonight, so my
Absolutely,
understanding
and
is
they're
the
going to keep
focus
it
will be
tight,
on the
right?
billing issues.
Yeah,
correct?
they're going to keep it tight to introductions, the billing, and then the plan for Project Pipes.
Okay, well,
Yeah. So
very good.
I think Monica, Marcel, and we also have one of the technicians on who works with the actual pipes, Marie. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Monica West. I'm Manager of Stakeholder Engagement for Washington Gas. And I'm joined with Marie Johns, who is with PPC Lethbridge. Marie Johns is our contractor for the large Project Pipes project that you all spoke about earlier. And then Marcel Fortune he's a manager of our customer experience. We also have one other gentleman who I think might be waiting, Gwendolyn. His name is Manny Geraldo. Peter, might be Peter that I should be speaking with. Peter, Manny Geraldo is with our policy unit, and he's also, I think, waiting in the wings. If you see him out there, he's also part of the team. We brought a few different people because as mentioned earlier, there are some new faces to the team. And so we wanted to, introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Monica West. Manny Geraldo is fairly new as well. So he will let him introduce himself. But what I'll do, if just in the interest of time, is I will let Marcel go first because he has the customer service increase in bills. And then I will let Marie just give a quick 1 or 2 sentences about Project Pipes, and then kick it back to Manny and myself. So Marcel, you go first.
All right, thanks everyone for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Washington Gas. I am the Customer Experience Manager, Marcel Fortune, for Washington Gas. On October 29th, 2021, Washington Gas did release a press release. Global rise in natural gas market costs and colder winter than last season are contributing factors to the increase in prices. As winter approached the metropolitan area, Washington Gas announced again on October 29th, 2021, that customers can expect to see an increase of up to 22% in heating bills compared to last year. Customers may pay more due to the recent rise in market prices of natural gas, as well as the warmer than normal weather last year, which resulted in lower than average bills. Globally, natural gas prices have spiked based on many factors, such as the economic recovery during COVID-19, increased natural gas demand from last winter, as well as slower than anticipated production. It is important to note that Washington Gas does not make any profit from the sale of natural gas. What Washington Gas pays for natural gas is what our customers are charged on their bills. We are offering customers payment plans on their utility bills. Our call center is available to assist customers. They are available Monday, 8 to 8, Tuesday through Friday, 8 to 6, and also on Saturdays, 8 to 12. That number is 844-927-4427. And we also house all of our rates on our website. And this press release was also put on our website as well, WashingtonGas.com.
Okay.
Okay, Marie.
All right, thank you. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I was muted. Good evening, commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Marie Johns. My firm is PPC Leftwich, and we actually are not new to this process. We've been supporting Washington Gas for the last 5+ years related to their Project Pipes initiative. Project Pipes is a multi-year extensive effort to replace aging pipe infrastructure throughout the city to make sure that gas is delivered safely, reliably, and affordably. And so what my role and my team's role is to provide customer education, community engagement, so that our neighbors understand what Project Pipes is for, the benefits, and to help navigate concerns when work is being done in the community. So we are out, certainly during COVID, in the before times, we did lots of neighborhood walks, left material for customers so that they would understand the work and most importantly, know how to contact Washington Gas if there were issues. We've had to obviously pivot to more of the online platforms during this time, but looking forward to getting out and about in the near future. So I've met some of you commissioners during our neighborhood walks and look forward to seeing you again in the future. So that's really what I wanted to share, the fact that we are part of the Project Pipes teams. Of course, Washington Gas has other work. There is emergency work when that's necessary. There's work that's in association with other utilities, such as either PEPCO, DDOT, DC Water, et cetera. But for the Project Pipes work, PPC Left, which is the team that supports Washington Gas. So thank you, and to
Thank
you,
you,
Mark.
Marie. Thanks, Marie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Manny, do you want to just do a quick introduction of yourself and then I'll close out with the work?
I'll be super quick. My name is Manny Giraldo. I'm on the Government Relations and Public Policy team for Washington Gas. My jurisdiction is DC. I've been there since May. I work with the folks who you've already met from Washington, Monica and Marie. So every now and then I might stop by an event or attend an ANC meeting. So I just want to say hi.
Good
Thanks,
to meet you, Manny. Thank you.
Just a
Thank you,
quick
Manny.
review of the work that's being done, and then we'll shut it down. But in the Ward 2 area, Washington Gas is currently doing work around Massachusetts Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue, 14th Street Northwest, Waterside Drive, and 17th Street. There's also some work that's being done, which is emergency replacement work. It's happening around Canal Road and Whitehurst Freeway, but that work is being done in conjunction with DC Water. And so that is, when we talk about planned work and Project Pipes work that Marie spoke about, that is actually outside of this, outside of the Project Pipes work. It is a work that emergency placement work that DC Water needs our assistance with. And so we're working with them to complete that. The estimated end date for that work at Canal Road and White House Freeway is at the end of October. That's the end time for it. And so that is all for that we have today. If anyone has any questions now or moving forward, Gwendolyn and Peter have our contact information. And like Marie said, we are happy to come and speak at any other meetings that you may have moving forward. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Monica. I think Commissioner Lose has a question.
Absolutely.
I just have two comments. I know I shared with you all that several of our constituents have had challenges reaching your customer service line. And I think I heard, maybe it was from Marcel or Monica, that as of January, you've had a revamp of the line and so people can get in now.
Absolutely. The call time, wait time, I think Marcel's less than a minute now.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yes, it's less than a minute.
So
Yeah, we spent.
I don't know if the
good part of last year.
Georgetowner's on, but if you can publish that so people stop asking us and they get to the line, that would be great. And then second is, we've had a lot of constituents, and I know you all are looking into this as PEPCO is as well, that they have spray paint in front of their homes with the PEPCO and the Washington Gas lines. So they've been asking us, a lot on the east side where I am.
Yeah. So those addresses that you sent me earlier today, as I responded to you earlier, that's not work that we have. So you can go into Miss Utility. Miss Utility is a website. You can go in there and see who actually has a permit for that area. And so when we did our research, it wasn't us, but that's why I wanted to know what the color of the markings are. Washington Gas, if it's spray painted yellow, that's Washington Gas. If it's spray painted another color, it's another utility. So I just needed a little more
Someone's
information.
spray painting your lines. We have the
Okay.
colors down, nice picture of all of them.
Okay.
So we just need to figure out why that is and what's happening, because no one
Yeah,
seems
and
to
I
know.
just need, if you have a picture of it or something, please, I'm happy to continue to research it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My
thank
pleasure.
you. We have Monica, we have one question from a
Sure.
member of the public. I think Walter has raised his hand, right, Peter?
Yeah, Walter, you may have to unmute yourself.
Yes, and I apologize. Are we, I joined just late, and are we still talking about the addition to the back of Mr. Farquhar's house?
No, we're nowhere near there yet.
Oh, I apologize. I will go back to muting and raise my hand later. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, well, Monica, you'll be glad you don't have to comment on the addition to the back of Mr. Farquhar's house. But that's life on Zoom in the ANC.
Once again, the Washington Gas team thanks you all for allowing us to come. Any other time you want us to speak, we're happy to do so. Gwendolyn and Peter, I look forward to the follow-up, specifically around the markings. I really want to close that out. So please send us some pictures and any additional information you have. That'd be great.
Well, we appreciate all four of you taking time out to spend time with us this evening. And I know late evening events are not the best, and we appreciate you sticking with us.
Thank you. No problem. Everybody have a great evening. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, we have kind of a surprise guest. We had Pepco about their billing issues, or not issues, just report on billing on the original agenda, but then we weren't able to confirm that they would be able to attend, but lo and behold, they are on the call. So if we could have a very brief presentation by Pepco at this point, that'd be great. I think it's Linda, correct?
We have Linda and Donna Cooper.
Okay.
And they're both coming through.
Hi, good evening. It's Donna Cooper, Pepco Region President, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Linda Greenan. I think she's coming through as well.
I am trying to put her through. She has to accept the link to be a panelist, though.
I just want to tell you, Donna, Linda's really good. She is responsive and she knows her issues and she gets down to it, and even works with whether it's the park service, the federal service, the city service. So thank you.
No, thank you. So in the interest of time, I know your schedule is extremely busy tonight and you have a very extensive agenda. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us to be a part of the conversation. I do know that you had a few questions because it's my understanding that several of the residents in the Georgetown area had inquired about seeing some changes on their bills. And one of the things that's very critical to us is ensuring that customers do understand when they see any type of fluctuations with their bills, what may be driving it. One of the pieces that we did really reach out to our customers and have posted certain information on is that customers generally will see some fluctuation with their bills. And I do know with one of the communications we received, it referenced the month of July, as well as this particular time period as well. And that's when customers generally are using more energy during that period of time, during the July months when it's very hot, and then also during the period of largely January, February timeframe. One of the things that I did note, however, was one of the customers did indicate that they were out of town and they did not notice any particular changes in terms of their behaviors because they were not utilizing certain appliances, their their HVAC system, et cetera. So one of the things that I always indicate is that we have to look at a customer's bill individually to really be able to evaluate what may be occurring in that particular situation. And so if there is any way that the actual customers that have expressed concerns with their particular billing could be shared with us, that would be most helpful. We have significant affordability programs, and we have actually expanded those programs. And more recently, the Public Service Commission has approved those programs. We meet our customers where they are. We do know that a lot of customers have been challenged from an affordability perspective due to the pandemic. So we offer significant payment arrangements with our customers. And as I indicated, there was a change as it relates to who qualifies for certain types of assistance programs. We did have a rate adjustment, but the rate adjustment request was really applicable. If you look at July through December of 2021, during the summer months, it was about $2.14 per month. And then in the winter months, it was about $1.70 per month. And that's for a customer who's typically using like 700 kilowatt hours of electricity on a monthly basis. So looking at the issues that have been shared, that does not comport as it relates to that particular adjustment. So if there's any way that we can get more specific information on those customers so that we can directly engage them and engage in a proper historical analysis of their accounts as well as their current usage, that would be most helpful. And we're available for any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you, Ms. Cooper. Linda has sent us her email so people can address questions to her as well. Do we have any questions from the commissioners for Ms. Cooper? And thank you for taking time to be with us here this evening, Ms. Cooper.
No, thank you.
So can I just clarify, anyone on the call who noticed an unusual change in their PEPCO bill over the last months, are you asking for people to email Linda directly? Is that?
Yes, because there were about 3 or 4 individuals, I believe, that made contact with the commission's offices concerning that. And we just wanted to be able to do a case-by-case analysis for those customers. And then if you hear anything else, feel free to definitely reach out to us as well with any additional customers.
Okay, just to warn you, I think it's far more than 3 people who have noticed this. So
okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. Right, and that's fine. And what we will do as well, we do have some information that we can send to you directly, specific to making contact with our company for that type of an analysis. But also feel free to reach out to myself or Linda Greenan directly, because I'm supportive of doing so and helping to channel that to the appropriate individuals within the company as well, and getting answers to those questions.
If we do identify something that's common, it could be useful for us to send out a communication. So maybe Linda, we can be in touch after you look at a few of these, and then we could work with you to facilitate that out to the community.
Yes, yes, let's do that. And the one thing that we definitely need is the address. You had sent me some, Gwen, and they didn't have addresses. So
yeah, I just wanted to give you some samples of what we're getting to hear about.
Yeah, and there's one in particular who we definitely want to follow up. I think, I'm not sure if it was a man or a woman, but they had reached out and never heard back. So we definitely want to follow that one up.
Okay. And I know Lisa will help facilitate some additional examples.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Included.
Thank you, Peter. I think we've got one hand up among the public to ask a question.
Yes, Sarah and Tom Strike, you may have to unmute yourself.
Real quick, I wanted to ask Linda if she knows of any energy efficient hair dryers for my wife.
Listen, those guys are my former neighbors, so I'm not. Yes, I do. I'll speak offline to Sarah. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, Ms. Cooper, Ms. Greenan, thank you so much for taking time this evening. And I think Linda, you're going to get some emails. So
that's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
We're happy to respond, and we'll make sure that you all know what the follow through's been. And Commissioner Los, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you.
No worries.
One of
You've been,
those crazy days.
as I
Yeah.
said, you are a fantastic contact. We're lucky to have you, and you will be getting a lot of emails, so we can move them all to you.
That's
So
good.
thank you.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, next up is something that, again, that Councilmember Pinto referred to as redistricting. We have two members from ANC 2E who sit on Councilmember Pinto's task force for redistricting. Our old colleague on the ANC, Monica Roche, and Eric Lagenbacher from Burleith. And I know at least, yes, both Monica and Eric are on. And if the two of you could team together to give us the Reader's Digest version of what's happening in ANC 2E in the way of redistricting. And good to see you, Eric. Particularly good to see you, Monica. It's been a while.
Oh, it has. It has. I miss you all, but I don't miss these long meetings. Peter, I can zoom through my slides and then just pass it on since Councilmember Pinto did go over this. So we're charged with being on the committee for the Ward 2 redistricting. Luckily, we don't have as many changes and concerns as some of the other areas. So if we just kind of keep clicking, Peter, please, to the next slide.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
There we go.
So Eric and I are on representing 2E. Go to the next slide. So a lot of the information that we're going to discuss, or if you want to know more information, I would suggest that you go on Councilmember Pinto's website. Also, all of our meetings are open to the public, and these are the upcoming dates. We have one tomorrow night. Again, you can access by going on to, thank you, Austin, our chair of our committee, for putting in the chat. Go to the next slide. So we're charged with coming up with our recommendations of changes by April 1st. So next. And so what we can go to the next one. So what we have to do is we're charged with making sure that every single member district has between, the goal is 1,900 to 2,100 residents. And so that is our focus, and using census data is what the city has come up with for the different SMDs for us to try to make sure that they work in terms of the number of residents. So I will, the last slide just shows you the different websites. And again, I'm just skimming through because of the time, where you can send in written testimony or to find out more information. So just again, go to Councilmember Pinto's site. But I'm going to pass on to Eric. So thank you, Peter. You can close that up. And then if Eric can have access, he's going to talk about the direct issues or changes within 2E. And folks can email me me or Eric if they want to ask additional questions.
Thanks, Monica. I'll try to be as succinct as possible. So I think we have two challenges in 2E. The first is that each single member district needs to be between 1,900 and 2,100 residents, but maybe there's some wiggle room. The second challenge is that we have 3 current single member districts that are below the threshold. So there need to be some changes when it comes to that. And then the third issue is the way that the data is presented, especially by Georgetown University, makes it a little bit more challenging for us than in other parts of Ward 2, because the Georgetown University students come as one group. And so it's a little bit more difficult to disaggregate. So I'm going to share my screen and talk about the, I think, minor modifications to SMD single member district boundaries that we are considering. All of this is just a proposal right now. The entire task force will have to vote on it. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick. All right, so there's this software that people use. Well, first of all, for the ward boundaries and now for the ANC and SMD boundaries, which we are trying to use. But like I said, the problem is that the Georgetown University data comes as this one disaggregated bunch. The other problem is that we're supposed to respect census tracts as much as possible, but historically we've had some census tracts that have been split. So this is actually not super useful for our purposes. So what I've been using is, and this is all data that Austin, our chair, has shared, so official census data. So I highlighted the 8 single member districts in our ANC. You can see that all but 2 apparently lost people according to the 2020 census. Many people have pointed out to me that they're skeptical about these numbers, but the data is the data and we just have to use it at least for the next 10 years. So what we have been using is this Ward 2 map. Again, all of this is available if you're interested. And this has some of the census blocks already split, right? So you can see that the northern part of Georgetown's campus with the hospital is actually part of SMD 01. This census block here is also kind of split. So this is a better map to go on. The changes that we're proposing are minor. So over here between 07 and 06, there's this little block with 51 people. We call it the 7-Eleven block because 7-Eleven's on it. And we're proposing moving that to SMD 06, which will get it to 1750 people. And then 07 is 1964, something like that. We're also suggesting moving this block here. This is Q Street up to Reservoir along Wisconsin Avenue. There's 121 people, moving that from 2 to 3. So 3 gets closer to where it needs to be. And then the other changes are down here by the university campus. And what we're proposing is boundaries right down 36th Street. So this block, I call it the Poulton Hall block, would actually go to SMD 08, one of the 2 all-student SMDs that we have. And this block here, which is currently divided, as you can see, we're going to give it all to SMD 05. So you can see with those changes, 05 gets to 1925, 03 gets to 1911, 07's at 1964, 02, well, okay, you can't, like I said, the software doesn't work that well, but everybody is within range with 2 exceptions. One is 06 is only at 1750, and I think that is a deviation from the 19 to 2100 that we can justify. I'll also point out that there will likely be other ANCs with SMDs that also deviate from the 19 to 21. And then the other issue is the 2 student SMDs. One's going to have 2167 under this plan. The other one will have 1806. But the problem is, and we talked to some of the Georgetown University folks about this, the problem is to get those 2 to align, we'd have to split one of the residence halls, Village A, as it were, down the middle. And you can't really do that, right? So we're also, the suggestion is that we also ask for that deviation. One is 67 people above, the other is about 100 below. So those are the changes. I think they're about as minimal as we can get away with. And that would be the current state of the discussion here.
Okay, any questions from any of the commissioners?
Eric, how would you like us to communicate this? Like just with the schedule and for people to join your meetings? Because although they seem minor to some people, they may not be minor. And as I heard, as I told you, you have my support and thank you for serving on these committees, but I just want to make sure everyone's informed of the changes.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different ways that you can contact us. You can email Monica or myself. You can email Austin, who's the task force director, who I see is on. Hi, Austin. We'll see you again tomorrow for the other task force meeting. Members of the public can attend all of our meetings. They can, ask to be acknowledged, to, say their piece. And then there's also procedures, as Monica showed in her presentation, to submit written testimony and things like that as well.
Thank you, Eric.
We would love to hear. We would love to hear the specific concerns if people have them.
Okay, Peter, do we have any hands up among the members of the public?
We do. Zachariah Ibrahim, you may have to unmute yourself. Zachariah, you may have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm here. Zachariah Ibrahim.
We can hear you.
Okay, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I believe I have Mr. Joseph in line still with his son to speak about himself and his restaurant. And
Yeah,
I'm here.
Mr. Ibrahim, we haven't gotten to that matter yet.
Okay.
But thank you for being here.
Yeah, it'll be
Thank
a little
you.
later, Mr. Abraham. We've got a number of items on the agenda before we get to our ABRA docket.
Okay. Okay. So what you want me to do? Just to hold on?
Just continue standing by.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other hands up and members of the public, Peter? Oh. Okay, well, Monica, Eric, Austin.
Austin had his hand up.
Oh, Austin, go ahead.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you to Eric and Monica for being so thorough as we got to this drafting process. So I just wanted to add to what Commissioner Mitchell asked about. On March 14th, we're going to have a town hall. It's our second town hall. And what happened at the first one earlier this month, each person was able to give oral testimony up to 3 minutes. And we imagine there'll be a similar model for that now that we have gotten so much feedback from around the ward, and to give people a chance to give oral feedback. That way, we also, as Eric mentioned, there's also the opportunity to give written feedback, either in the form of like just sending an email to the council staff that's listed on the presentation, or by submitting a draft map. So that on some of the websites we've included, there's a mapping program that people are able to use. We're able to collaborate with people that way as well. So there are multiple ways for people to submit information. So we are definitely looking forward to the March 14th, giving people a good 2 weeks to swim in this and then give testimony if they want to, or just come and listen to others give testimony.
Can I just add one thing? And I just want to reiterate that, the mapping software is really terrific, but it doesn't work for ANC 2E because of the split census blocks and because of the way that the student data is presented. So I guess I think it would be more useful if people had comments to email them to us or to provide kind of testimony, but I'm not sure that the mapping software is going to work for our purposes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Eric, Monica, Austin, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on this important process. And thank you for spending all the time you're spending on this. And we all appreciate it. Okay, now next item on the agenda is an update regarding the Georgetown Transportation Access and Circulation Study, and I will give that report. Thanks to a request made by Councilmember Pinto, last year the DC Council authorized the expenditure of $500,000 for a study of traffic issues in Georgetown. Starting late last fall, representatives of Councilmember Pinto's office, ANC 2E, the Citizens Association of Georgetown, CAG, and the Georgetown BID discussed with DDOT how the study would be conducted and how we could be assured that our community would be able to provide input as the study proceeds. Well, the project is now about to begin. DDOT will manage all of the substantive aspects of the project, but our community will be able to provide input through a community advisory committee that includes 3 members of ANC 2E. That would be myself, Councilmember Lose, and Commissioner, pardon me. We're not council members and hopefully never will be, at least from my point of view. Commissioner Lose and Commissioner Palmer, also from CAG, President Terrace Crata Parker and Stephanie Bothwell. And then 2 members from the Georgetown BID, Chris Martin, who is the director of the Georgetown BID, and Brian, our new traffic director, whose name is now escaping me. I'm embarrassed to say.
Greg Billing. Greg Billing.
Brian Billing. One representative of Georgetown University, who is an individual who's involved in their traffic management, and representative from the Georgetown Hospital, along with Ella Hansen from Councilmember Pinto's office. The purpose of the Community Advisory Committee is to advise DDOT and the project consultant team, the substantive team that gets retained, on matters directly related to the study. The committee will assist DDOT in drafting the study's RFQ, request for qualification, for the project consulting team, who are the folks who will do the real scut work in this project, to ensure that the community needs and goals are reflected in the solicitation. The committee will function as a sounding board to DDOT during the study. The committee will advise, support, and assess DDOT staff and the project consultant team and other project partners to provide feedback regarding proposed solutions and existing challenges. In addition to the advisory committee's regular meetings with the DDOT project team, the first of which is going to take place this week, ANC, 2E, and CAG will host several community-wide meetings in which the DDOT will report on progress, and members of the community will have an opportunity to provide input. As I said, the first meeting of the committee and DDOT will take place later this week. The goal is for DDOT to identify and retain the project consulting team by September or October of this year, with a final report on as a result of the study, probably in late 2023. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them. Hearing none, any from the public, Peter? All right, thank you. I moved myself right along. We now move to our new business agenda. And the first item there is consideration of a resolution regarding the 2022 Rose Park Farmers Market. And that would be in 2E06, Commissioner Lowe's.
No, we all love the Rose Park Farmers Market. So I am going to propose the following resolution. ANC 2E supports the Friends of Rose Park application to stage the 2022 Rose Park Farmers Market in Rose Park, located at 2609 Dunbarton Street Northwest. In 2021, the Friends of Rose Park did an exemplary job of providing an outside, socially distanced market experience. Residents can shop for groceries, buy prepared food, purchase items from small local businesses, and socialize with neighbors while enjoying fun special events like guest DJs. Moreover, the market may continue to offer residents the ability to receive COVID testing and flu vaccinations at an outside location. The ANC fully supports this community building effort.
Okay, do we have a second for Commissioner Lowe's motion? Commissioner Palmer seconds. Any discussion among the commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, raise your hands. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Lowe's. Next item is also Commissioner Lowe's. We're heavy on Commissioner Lowe's agenda items tonight. We've got consideration of a resolution regarding pre-planning by the Office of Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, the Department of Behavioral Health, the National Park Service, and nonprofits to collaborate on individuals experiencing homelessness as the COVID guidance changes.
I think, yeah, and I'd like to say this is really all of us. I think we're all addressing this area. And we've heard some really good information from Councilmember Pinto tonight, and also from the Executive Director of Georgetown Ministry. And so this resolution that I want to propose is to speak to the discussions we've heard from our constituents, but also the programs that are coming into place and what is hopefully a turn in COVID, which means a turn in what the housing for some of the individuals living outside means. So I'm going to propose the following resolution, and it would go to the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, the DC Department of Behavioral Health, National Park Service, DPR, DDOT Public Space, MPD, National Park Police, Georgetown Bid, because they help fund some of the Georgetown Ministry, our Ward 2 office, who we heard a good update from today, and then obviously CCing the nonprofits that support this population, Georgetown Ministry, Miriam's Kitchen, and also Georgetown University External Affairs. And those are all the organizations that are critical to work with the population. So with that said, I'm going to propose an open letter to the partners. We're contacting you regarding the tragic rise of individuals who are experiencing homelessness in our neighborhood during COVID, and to urge unique levels of collaboration around housing this population. The COVID pandemic has been a traumatic period for many, but especially the unhoused. We have witnessed an increase in the number of unhoused taking shelter in Georgetown's commercial area, as well as its federal and city parklands. These public outdoor areas are serving as bathrooms, kitchens, and bedrooms. It has become typical to see campfires burning in our parks due to warmth and cooking needs, and for the police to be contacted regarding an assault occurring on a street or in a park involving someone who is not only homeless, but is experiencing concerning behavioral health issues. Some neighbors with small children have begun to avoid sections of the park or a street altogether. Our parks, streets, and storefronts neither have the infrastructure nor the resources to serve these housing needs. They cannot properly serve as makeshift shelters for the unhoused, especially those with behavioral health issues. The public health and safety issues are significant for everyone involved, but specifically for people who are unhoused. Our constituents have voiced strong concerns that beyond the safety and health risks, the current status is a human welfare issue. After 2 years, the COVID pandemic appears to be morphing into something less emergency-oriented and more endemic. It is ANC 2E's understanding that various policies, programs related to the unhoused have and will be changing in the coming months, including the CDC's guidelines on encampments, the city's emergency housing voucher program for people who are unhoused, and the city's resources devoted to the unhoused who are experiencing behavioral health issues. ANC 2E requests the following. 1, schedule a joint meeting with all the relevant parties in our particular community on current status, successful methods that have been tested to reduce housing barriers, and to outline any critical timeframes for housing to occur. 2, identify opportunities to issue joint communications on the concrete progress to house those who have lived outside during COVID. 3, educate ANC 2E on how communities can help those unhoused who are suffering from behavioral health issues to receive proper medical care. 4, share how federal and city park resources can uniquely collaborate at this critical juncture when vouchers are available. Some of the parks in our community are on land owned by NPS, while others are on lands that are owned by the city. Many of the federal parks are immediately adjacent to land owned by the city and vice versa. This complexity is a challenge. And last, attend our April or May meeting to provide updates on your joint partner efforts and how ANC can assist you in your mission. Time appears to be of the essence going forward and finding solutions. We look forward to working with you and all your organizations on this human welfare issue. With respect, ANC 2E.
Okay, do we have a second for Commissioner Lose's resolution? Second from Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion among the commissioners? Okay, does anybody in the public have their hand up, Peter? Okay, therefore all in favor? All right. Thank you. The
Thanks,
resolution
Lisa and
is adopted.
Elizabeth, too, for helping a lot.
Thank you all. Okay, next item up is consideration of a resolution requesting DC Council action establishing regulations for last mile warehouse or distribution facilities in their residential or mixed use neighborhoods. An issue with which we've had experience, particularly down in Commissioner Palmer's district, first on Water Street and then later on a street a little bit further east. So fire away, Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you. So the resolution that I'm going to propose tonight is in support of ANC 2B's resolution. ANC 2B has similar issues with last mile delivery services like GoPuff and DoorDash. They passed a resolution on February 24th, 2022. And we join in requesting Councilmember Pinto work with neighborhoods to ensure that businesses like GoPuff and DoorDash are acting in a neighborly manner. And here is the resolution. It's lengthy. Whereas last mile delivery services, LMDS, including GoPuff, are warehouse or distribution centers that customers order grocery and household items from and are brought to them by a team of drivers. And whereas LMDS are increasingly popular and offer a useful service to district residents. And whereas warehouses and distribution facilities storing the inventory for LMDS have opened in residential and or mixed use neighborhoods of the District of Columbia, and whereas the District of Columbia currently does not have business classification, zoning, regulation, or enforcement for LMDS, and whereas residents of the District of Columbia in residential or mixed use zones are not consulted in advance regarding the location or operation of such businesses opening near them. And whereas delivery drivers queued awaiting assignment routinely disrupt the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood with litter, noise, including loud conversation or music, obstruction of traffic, and this occurs at all hours of the day and night. And whereas the operators of the facilities frequently claim no responsibility for disruptions of peace, order, and quiet or conduct by their operation or their drivers. And whereas neighborhoods in ANC 2E, ANC 2B, which is West End, and ANC 6B, Capitol Hill, have been experiencing disruption to peace, order, and quiet from existing LMDS. Therefore, be it resolved that ANC 2E requests our Ward 2 Council Member Brooke Pinto work with ANC 2E and ANC 2B and the joint communities to develop and introduce legislation to the Council of the District of Columbia that provides meaningful regulation and enforcement for LMDS in residential and mixed use zones, including establish a specific business classification for LMDS, direct DCRA to establish an approval process for applicants similar to ABRA's that requires public notice to residents and ANCs, and provide an opportunity for communities to enter into agreements similar to settlement agreements addressing neighborhood concerns and governing and operations responsibilities and conduct. Direct DCRA to establish clear and timely enforcement, adjudication, and penalty imposition policies to resolve complaints from neighbors or other district agencies without complication or time-consuming complaint processes. Hold LMDS operators fully responsible and accountable for the conduct of their drivers and suppliers, whether direct employees, temporary or contract workers, including blocking traffic, parking, driveways, and/or alleys, and creation of untenable noise and litter on our community streets and sidewalks. Require LMDS operators maintain current records of drivers engaged by them, employees, and contractors, and readily accessible logs of reported complaints or incidents involving their drivers, but not limited to property damage or untoward conduct. Require LMDS facilities have adequate private loading and parking for employees and staging for drivers awaiting dispatch per zoning regulations. Apply for and obtain zoning relief for a location if it does not satisfy zoning requirements. Establish a traffic control plan satisfactory to residents, the ANC, and DDOT, and incorporate such plan into a jointly negotiated settlement agreement between the local ANC and the applicant. Apply for and obtain public space permits from DDOT to use designated on-street space for commercial pickup, drop-off, and driver queuing, subject to DDOT's regular NOI process. Be prohibited from parking or standing in travel lanes, alleys, driveways, neighboring building entrances, or parking facilities with the understanding that the city will issue penalties for engaging in prohibited behavior. and zoning and public space accommodation and settlement agreements made for LMDS would automatically sunset upon cessation of occupancy by the operator or an immediate successor maintaining the same type and scope of business. Any agreements related to operations of such business shall not automatically convey to a different business category.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Palmer. Do we have a second for Commissioner Palmer's resolution? Second by Commissioner Loos. Any discussion among the commissioners? All in favor?
Lisa, I want to thank you for doing this because it's helps us all. So, and all the other neighborhoods. So it's a very good resolution. So thank you.
Well, I'm grateful for ANC 2B for bringing this to our attention, and I'm happy to partner with them on this important issue.
Okay, thank you very much all. As it seems to now become traditional, at least once every meeting, I skip an item on the agenda, and I skipped the resolution concerning ANC testimony from DC Council's MPD oversight and budget hearings, which should have come before this last one, but now we'll do it. Commissioner Loos?
So as the liaison for the MPD, the council hearings are accepting comments until March 4th. So I'm going to propose the following resolution. The DC Council's Metropolitan Police Department oversight and budget hearings are accepting written testimony. ANC 2E appoints ANC 2E06 Commissioner Gwendolyn Loos, our MPD liaison, to submit a draft written testimony for consideration by our ANC 2E colleagues, who will then determine whether to co-sign the testimony.
Okay. Do we have a second for Commissioner Loos's resolution? Commissioner Palmer? As I understand it, the arrangement here is that Commissioner Loos will draft written testimony, we'll circulate it, we'll discuss it among ourselves, and then such of us as are comfortable with the testimony as it comes into its final form will sign on as adopting it as our own. Any commissioners who can't find a way to agree to that can of course offer their own testimony representing their own districts. This is not an item for which we need to do a resolution because testimony like this does not get great weight under the ANC statute. So any discussion of Commissioner Loos's resolution, which has now been seconded? All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you all. Okay, the last item of new business is a resolution asking DC Public Schools to consider asking Hardy Middle School or allowing Hardy Middle School to use playing fields at the DCPS site at the old Georgetown Day School location on MacArthur Boulevard. I think that's Commissioner Puda.
Thank you very much. And my resolution is fairly short, but I will note that members of the Hardy PTO may be on the call and may wish to say something about this as well, because they're the ones who brought it to us. But let me just read it very quickly. According to the Hardy PTO, Hardy's sports programs are growing and very active, but do not have a nearby quality playing field. Duke Ellington Field is not scheduled for renovation till after the fall sports season. The former Georgetown Day School site on MacArthur Road is now the property of DC government under DCPS and includes a playing field. We therefore ask DC Public Schools to consider allowing Hardy Middle School's sports teams to use that field this spring and fall until the Duke Ellington Field is renovated. And I think that's basically it. I don't know if Abby Paulson or Colleen from or Maurice from the Hardy PTO are on, but Rick, would it be all right if they said?
Well, let's see if you get a second on your motion first, Titian. Do we have a second for? Okay, we have many seconds, so I think we're good. We'll say Commissioner Lowe seconded this one. First, discussion among the commissioners. Hearing none, we'll be happy to hear from the folks from Hardy PTO.
Abigail Paulson, you may have to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Abby Paulson. I'm here with my co-presidents Maurice Hemphill and our Vice President Colleen Prino, and just wanted to reach out and connect. We, as many folks know, Hardy Middle School has a serious athletic facilities challenge, and there's a beautiful field over there at GDS that we would love to have the opportunity to have our athletes have as a place for them to play their games, etc. So we would really appreciate your consideration and are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Paulson. I don't think we have any questions. Would someone like to call a vote? Yes, let's vote. All in favor? All right. The resolution passes unanimously, and Ms. Paulson, I hope DCPS sees its way clear to allow Hardy to use the field.
Yeah,
And-
we all do. Yep. This is an important topic.
Yeah. Thank you, Abby, for joining and for all your advocacy. We'll keep pushing to make improvements at Hardy.
Okay. All righty. Next up is our Alcoholic Beverage Control Board agenda, ABRA. The first item is an application by Beirut Nights for a new retailer's Class C license at an address with which we are very familiar, 1025 to 1027 31st Street. That's in Commissioner Palmer's district. Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, and I know we have representatives from the business that are here tonight. I've asked them to just briefly share a little bit about their business. That tonight's conversation is solely related to the ABRA license and the ANC process for moving this forward.
And that was
Zachariah, I'm trying to upgrade you as a panelist, but you have to accept the invitation. So,
and there may be one other person I believe he mentioned that's on the phone. So,
yes, Joseph.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Joseph and Zachariah, you're coming through as panelists. You will have to unmute yourself, and you can turn on your camera if you'd like. But again, you will have to unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear us?
We can.
We can. And as a preamble, before you present, I would ask you to be brief. And by way of explanation, the way this generally works in most cases with applications for ABRA licenses is the ANC will vote to protest the license, which then puts in place a process during which there'll be an opportunity to negotiate a settlement agreement that would become part of the license that provides some protection to the neighbors in terms of hours, noise, trash, things like that. So if you could just briefly tell us what you're proposing to do at that address, we'll be happy to hear from you, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. So this is Joseph, my father. I'm Tariq, I'm his son. I'm just here basically to communicate to you guys what we'll be doing in this address, since his English is not that good basically. So this is like a restaurant lounge at 1025 and 1027. Basically what we'll be doing is serving some like quick Lebanese snacks, basically like shawarma, chicken shawarma, meat shawarma, falafel, and so on. And there would be some music in the background, but to the extent that allows people to talk to each other inside the restaurant. So low music in the background, so like for the ambiance basically. And the people can come in to enjoy a drink if they want, also get a cup of coffee, get some tea if they want. And when we get our hookah license also, we will be serving also some hookah along with the snacks and the drinks, basically.
Very good. Commissioner Palmer?
Yep. And I don't know if there are members of the community here and I don't know if we actually even need to call on them, but is it worth asking if there's anyone that has
let's see if anyone from the community that would like to speak to this.
Anyone has any comments or questions? And again, this goes for any point during the meeting. You can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen or dial *9 if you're on a phone. That's *9.
Okay, great.
But
So
we have, I think one just came through. It says Jim, but I know for a fact now it's Cookie Cruise.
You got it. Just very quickly, CAG took this up at our last board meeting, and we have protested exactly as Rick said, to get the ball rolling so that we can work on a settlement agreement if that is, how things flesh out. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Cookie. Yeah, after that preamble, I didn't think to call on you because I knew we were all heading in the same direction. Commissioner Palmer?
Sure. ANC 2E protests the application by Beirut Nights for a new retailer's Class C restaurant license at 1025-1027 31st Street Northwest, Abra-120090 on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. ANC 2E agrees to drop such protest at such time if a settlement agreement is signed by both the applicant and the ANC.
Okay. Do we have a second to Commissioner Palmer's motion? Second by Commissioner Loos. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. You now, Commissioner Palmer, I'm sure will work with you to see if a settlement agreement can be achieved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the Amber agenda is application by M Street Entertainment LLC for a substantial change to their existing retailer's Class C restaurant license at 3123 to 3125 M Street. That is again in Commissioner Palmer's district. Commissioner Palmer?
And I think we have Matt Minora on.
Matt, you will have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, folks.
Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. So Matt Minora from the law firm of Mallory O'Brien and Sandground, and we're here to present very briefly the fact that we have applied for this change. That's really all we can talk about it. Unfortunately, at this time, the protest deadline is the same time as the next ANC meeting, April 4th. And right now we applied for this substantial change. Initially, the property owner was applying for it, thinking they would operate the space themselves. However, there's a potential tenant coming in and there's lease negotiations happening. So we don't have anything to really present at this time. So we're assuming and asking for the ANC and CAG to just vote to protest, keep it at the table. And then once the lease negotiations are finished, we can talk about a settlement agreement in time for the April meeting, hopefully, or shortly thereafter, because the protest deadline, or excuse me, the roll call hearing is until the end of April 25th. So we have, in my mind, plenty of time to talk about discussions once the details are finalized. I mean, if you're not getting sick of me, Lisa, I'm sure we'll work very well again on this one as we have in the past.
Yeah, and
I think we probably ought to let our listeners from the public know what the substantial change
Oh,
is.
sure. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is the original. This is the space, the RERA space, and we're keeping the same hours, same capacity. The only potential substantial change that we're talking about is adding a sports wagering endorsement. So it'd be up to 10 wagering kiosks and 1 wagering window inside the premises. This is at 3123 M Street Northwest.
Yes.
But otherwise, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that when we have some more clarity on what actually is going to potentially come in there, we'll have Matt come back and share it with the community.
Exactly. Yeah, but we plan on coming back at the April meeting.
Okay. Yeah. I think, yeah, we already have a second for, no, you haven't given your motion yet, have you? No,
Not yet, sorry.
Okay.
I'll do
please
it fast. ANC2E protests the application by M Street Entertainment LLC for a substantial change to the establishment's retailer's Class C restaurant license at 3123-3125 M Street Northwest, Aber-119608 on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. ANC2E agrees to drop such protest if and when a settlement agreement is jointly signed by the applicant and ANC2E.
Okay, can I have a second to Commissioner Palmer's motion? Commissioner Mitchell, thank you. Ms. Cruz, has CAG got a position on this?
1 minute. Cookie, I'm going to allow you to speak if you'd like. You'd have to unmute.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Before we will get a shot at it before the protest deadline. So we haven't discussed it yet, but Matt knows what we'll do. I'm sure protest and work out an agreement. So.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you, Cookie. All right. Do we have any?
I have one quick comment. I think as we get more of these types of licenses, I think we talked about putting the non-liquor licenses for the gaming on our website. And I do think we want to do that as we keep aware of the issues and the different type of licenses that are coming out in this area.
Yeah, just for
it's only our third one, I think.
Yeah. Is it our third or our second? I know we have one at Washington Harbor. This is our third.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So if we can,
Matt can probably comment, but can you share what the status is for churches gaming license request? Do you know?
I'm actually not prepared to talk about that. I'm not aware of another, other than what we've already been discussing and the settlement agreement we submitted. I'm not aware of any other changes at this time.
No, that one. Did they end up, I know they requested the license. Did they end up securing it?
Honestly, it's not anything I can know about and really discuss at this time. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
No,
so
the most recent church update I have is the one that we discussed.
Yeah. No, this is the third application that we've discussed at ANC meetings. They're in the 2E.
It's gambling. It's sort of a new world when it comes to gambling. To put it mildly, well, we've had a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? I think so. All in favor? All right. So we protest that one, and we'll see how things develop. Thank you, Matt. Thanks.
Absolutely, no. Look forward to working with you all on that settlement agreement. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Palmer. All right, moving to our zoning agenda. The first item is a BZA application for a special exception from the matter of right accessory uses to construct a detached two-story accessory building with top floor apartment in the rear of a two-story principal dwelling unit at 1963 39th Street Northwest. That's in Commissioner Puta's district. Commissioner Puta, do you know if someone is here to speak on behalf of the applicant first?
I believe so.
We do have Meredith coming through. If anyone else is here, you could raise your hand at the bottom of the screen.
Okay, well, Ms. Moldenhauer will represent the applicant. I think she's representing the applicant before the BZA. So Meredith, please proceed and tell us what you've applied for.
Yes, I will share my screen if I can do that really quickly and walk you through a quick presentation. Mr. Farquhar is also here as the applicant. So let me know if everyone can see my screen now.
We can.
Okay, great. So the project is to build a new accessory structure. The new structure is fully compliant to the zoning standards. It would propose a dwelling on the second floor. We've actually changed that based on back and forth communication with the ANC. Originally, we were asking for the accessory use of the dwelling unit to be on the first and second floor. We've changed it so it's only on the second floor, consistent with all of the physical development standards for an ADU in the R20 zone. It is compliant as to height and width and setbacks and all. The applicant will live on the new ADU on the second floor, and on that first level, it would be storage. I know there were some questions on the updated plans. We'll walk through those in a moment, but that first level will be storage. As you can see here, the property is located at the very end of 39th Street, where 39th Street dead ends. It is a unique property, as you can see on the right-hand side, because it was subdivided and connected with the rear lot here. And so it's actually one single lot that has lot frontage on 39th Street. We've engaged obviously with the Office of Planning. They have indicated a letter of support. There are, obviously we're here tonight to the ANC, and there's multiple letters of support, and we are aware of letters of opposition in the record. Here's a site plan to just kind of you understand the property. The property, as I said, is the last lot on 39th Street. The lot is a long lot that is connected on either end of this circular alley. The proposed ADU will have all of the required setbacks from both the rear and from the corner of the public alley, and will be separated from the existing building. The applicant also owns the property to the south, and so this would obviously not be separated from any other properties not owned by the applicant. Let me reduce this a little so you can see it a little bit better. Sorry, so this is the proposed layout and design. The first floor would be storage with the stair going up. The second floor would be the ADU located on the second floor. You can see the kitchen outlined here, as well as the full bathroom, and then a studio style living room, bedroom. The project is fully compliant with the zoning standards for height at 22 feet in height. As shown here as well, fully compliant with a design that we believe is in keeping with standard homes in the area and accessory structures. Special exception relief is what we are asking the ANC for. Subtitle U 253.4 indicates that in the R19 zone, an accessory apartment shall be permitted as a special exception in either a dwelling or in an accessory building. We are proposing this in an accessory building if approved by the BZA, subject to the provisions. As the ANC knows, a special exception relief, the board is, discretion is limited to determine whether the exception sought meets the requirements. We believe it does meet the requirements. I'll just walk through those very quickly. For the ANC, the relief is in harmony with the zoning regulations. ADUs are permitted by special exception in the R20 and R19 zones. This is a very large lot. The lot is 3,517 square feet. It is consistent with the, again, size, dimension, lot occupancy of the R20 standard. The dwelling will only be located on the second level, and that this is smaller in gross square footage and height than the principal dwelling. The principal dwelling is 1,512 square feet with the basement, and this ADU is about 500. That's 450 for the second level and a little bit for the stairs going up to it. There would be no adverse effect. It is a one-bedroom dwelling that the applicant would reside in. The intent is that the applicant currently lives at 1961 39th Street, and he rents out the primary dwelling at 1963. He would continue to rent this out, and he would move from 1961 to the one-story, the one unit here as part of the ADU. The ADU is 22 feet in height. It abuts private property on only one side, so it's limited in regards to impact. There are forest lands to the north and the east of the lot. The alley will be obviously, other alleys have gardening sheds to the south and will not be impacted. And there's a large distance because of the 40-foot circular kind of cul-de-sac that's created at the end here. We believe that based on these, we also meet all of the special conditions of subtitle U 253. The ADU will be owner occupied. No more than 6 people will be occupied in the principal dwelling or the ADU. The permanent access to the ADU would, as shown, will be accessed via the alley. The dwelling use of the co-terminus will be permanently with permanent access. 300 feet access to 39th Street through the 15-foot alley will be provided. The ADU the ADU not being used for other than dwelling purposes. There is no roof deck proposed. The ADU shall only be permitted on the second floor, which we are complying with, and there's no balcony or projection of bays or windows facing any of the residential units. Subtitle 253.8F does not apply here, as this section only applies to those that does not meet the conditions of this section. As I just outlined in the prior slide, we meet all of the conditions of this section. And so we are asking for the special exception relief for this project.
Thank you, Ms. Molnar. I have one quick factual question before we turn to neighbors who want to be heard on this as well. Did I understand you correctly that to say that the second floor of the new structure would be roughly 500 square feet and the first floor would be 450? Is that what you said?
No, they're both 450. So it's the same square footage on the first and second floor.
Okay, so the total structure would have about 900 square feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's rough numbers, 60 to 65% of the size of the principal dwelling.
Well, but the structure itself is permitted. Obviously,
I'm just getting the facts. I'm not talking about the permitting. I just want to get the facts straight. It's 900 square feet in that structure. There's 1,500 square feet in the principal dwelling. Isn't that what you said?
15, yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I know we have at least Mr. Hall on who would like to speak to this, and perhaps others.
Mr. Hall, I'm going to allow you to speak. You may have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
There's been some changes in the proposal since February 16th, which was the last date by which the applicant could make adjustments to the proposal before the hearing. And I have to protest because I haven't seen these plans. The change from recreation on the first floor has now been changed to storage. I don't know what storage means, and my preparation was in respect to recreation listed on the first floor. There appears to be a change in the kitchen upstairs on the second level. I haven't seen those drawings, and I can't speak to them. So either this needs to be just delayed or it needs to be turned down because it's out of order. The new changes do not come in compliance with the timeline allowed for.
Mr. Hall, that is not an issue the ANC has jurisdiction to deal with. What we would like to hear from you is your concerns about the structure that is before us. Procedural questions about what came too late or too early would have to be addressed to the BZA itself.
May I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Hall, I'm going to put you through as a panelist to do that.
Yes.
As you come through as a panelist, you'll have to unmute yourself again. The share screen button is at the bottom of the screen. Pop-up should come up and you should select the window that has your presentation. We can see it.
We see it. Thank you, Mr. Hall.
All right. I have five quick topics: neighbor numbers, utilities, ground floor residence, recreation, scale of the accessory building, and national park recommendation. This is, as you have already seen, a list of the plats on the neighborhood. And the orange is the property in question. The second blue plot is owned by the applicant. There are 10 properties on the alley south of the applicant's home. Every one of those 10 neighbors on the alley has written in protest of the application. The two members still within the 200-foot radius below the alley access also have written in protest and the third neighbor below the 200-foot radius have written in protest. Only one member on the alley has written in support of this proposal. Utilities. This is a picture of the property as it exists now. This is a picture of a superimposed image that the applicant provided of the building he wants to build, superimposed to scale on the property. This shed is 9 feet high. The property, the building proposed is 22 feet high. Our question is, how will utilities be provided to the accessory building? The Office of Planning, the attorney just mentioned that the Office of Planning has given its approval. In fact, the Office of Planning on September 24th said the applicant did not provide information for subtitle U 253.8 F2, which is required because the proposed accessory building is not a matter of right in the R20 zone. And that regulation requires there be evidence that there are adequate public utilities for the health and safety of the residents. That was in September 24th. It is now the end of February, 5 months later, and the applicant still has not explained how utilities, gas, water, electricity, sewage will get to the accessory dwelling. And we wonder why that is. Would it be because it might encroach on National Park Service property, or it might involve DDOT in removing some of the alleyway? We don't know. But that, as the Office of Planning says, Office of Planning has advised the applicant that the information should be provided prior to public hearing. It has not been provided. There's another fault in the application. Now, I go to ground floor residence, and this is the recreation, which I understand has been changed. Recreation or storage, it's still an empty space. The second level in the drawings that were submitted on February 16th, the last day legally to submit them, shows a microwave and a refrigerator below the counter for a bachelor's kitchen. Now, this is 450 square feet on the second level, 450 square feet on the first level. That equals, in fact, the square footage of the homes that face 39th Street. That is equal to the square footage of the primary residence, 1963, on the first and second levels, discounting the basement. It is, in fact, this dwelling, as it existed in the drawing, was going to be equal to the size of the first and second floors, which is what Mr. Farquhar currently lives in at 1961, but to provide only a microwave and a below-the-counter refrigerator. And we are to believe that he's going to build a building that would provide just a microwave and a below-the-counter refrigerator of this size.
And that he's not going to live on the first.
And then he's not going to turn some of that storage into residence. Is there any utility provided, HVAC, on the lower level? How can that be guaranteed that it would be storage and never residential? The scale of the accessory building, I've already mentioned. It's 25 feet broad on the alley. It's 18 feet deep, and then it's another 9 feet with a cantilever deck. The lots that face 39th Street are 16.9 feet wide, and this face, the facade that faces the alley, is 25 feet wide, 18 feet deep, with another 9 feet for the deck. In no way is that accessory building a secondary in size. Regulation 5002.c states that an accessory apartment must be secondary in size to the principal building. And that is not the case in this, with this application. And then just to go to a national park recommendation, you see this is national park property, all of the green area. The property in question abuts National Park Service property, and the National Park Service, the superintendent of Rock Creek Park, wrote on December 15th, NPS would strongly recommend that the side yard on the north side of the ADU reflect the full 5 feet from NPS property. Now, the issue in this case is one that's very fundamental to any request for zoning relief. And the first question in that kind of a request is, does the building proposed adversely affect a neighbor? And that's exactly what the superintendent, Washburn, is speaking to in her request for a 5-foot setback from the property line of NPS. The Board of Zoning Adjustment is authorized to make an exception as long as the application will not tend to adversely affect the use of neighboring property in accordance with the zoning regulations. In this case, there is adverse impact due to construction of the building, damage to plant life, creation of paths on the land, all due to construction, and to occupancy of the building if built. And the occupant or occupants of this ADU, instead of going 300 feet to the street, will take the path that has already been informally established on the land of NPS and is not an official pathway. But that's just one way in which the proposed building will adversely affect the National Park Service land. So we believe that the application is incomplete according to the utilities regulation, and it's out of line. And now it has been modified out of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Do we have any other neighbors who would like to speak in reference to this application?
Yep, just give me 1 second. Next up, we have Sarah and Tom Strike. You may have to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. I know it's a late evening and I appreciate all your time. I'm the one neighbor that Dick asked or said was in favor for this. And I just want to give a little color. I've lived in the neighborhood for 22 years. And Michael has been an impeccable neighbor, and he's just a wonderful world-renowned author. very humble guy. He's thoughtful. He is very inviting, not only to my wife and myself and a lot of other neighbors, but our animals as well. When we're walking our dogs up the street, he's always has time for everyone. And I just kind of want to draw you a picture of him, the person, and the area.
Well, Mr. Strike, I have no doubt.
Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
but
Murphy.
we need to talk directly to the issues before us.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Dick Hall had talked about pathways, okay? I have 2 dogs, and I've wandered through the pathway that he's talked about. Nobody goes back there. It's full of ticks. It's full of fleas. It's not an informal path. But I want to talk about the issue. I saw the plans and the drawings, and I think they're spectacular. I think it'd be great to have the ADU, especially years from now, if somebody wants to buy the property and send their kids to Hyde-Addison. Affordable housing is hard to come by in the neighborhood. They're ripping down houses that cost 100 years ago, 500,000. They're putting up $3 million houses. I'm all for this, and I'm not part of the concerted effort against Michael and attacking his personality. And I just want you to know that Linda Greenan was on earlier tonight, and she would be a wonderful person to speak to about Michael and his personality and his disposition. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stryker. Ms. Moldenauer, I think you wanted to respond to Mr. Hall earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Hall brought up a couple of points that I wanted to maybe address or respond to, if you have a moment.
Okay, if you'll be brief, please do.
Yes, so one about the utilities, the utilities, and Mr. Farquhar can testify, he has spoken to a contractor. All the utilities would go through his property. They would go from the street through his primary residence to the property. There would be no impact on public space, no impact on, national park land. And so it also in the Office of Planning report indicated that, a single unit would not typically result in any significant impact on existing public utilities.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moldenauer.
So the last comment was on this case is a use case. It's not a question of the structure. The special exception that we're asking for is the ability to put the use on that second floor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moldenauer. We have Mr. Stone is asked to address this.
Mr. Stone, you appear to be unmuted.
Can you hear me and see me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Great. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak about this project. I'm a native Washingtonian. I've known Mr. Farquhar nearly my entire life, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. One of the things that's really disappointing is the not in my backyard syndrome. These are exactly the types of projects.
Are you a neighbor of this property?
I'm a few blocks away. I'm just a few blocks down the hill.
Are you in Burleith?
I am right at Reservoir and 35th.
Reservoir and 35th.
School.
Okay, well, I mean, you're not really within the zone of being affected by this property, but if it would be very brief, we'll hear what you have to say.
I'm an environmental professional, and I've been dealing with environmental issues for a big energy company most of my career. And what's disappointing is to hear this not in my backyard syndrome. These are precisely the type of projects that are, from an environmental perspective, what we should be doing all across the nation. The greenest people in America are the people who live in densely populated cities. And for every unit like this that doesn't get built, it means someone has to move out to the suburbs or the exurbs. And the carbon emissions that cascade from a decision like that are tremendous. It means longer commutes, it means more construction. So from an environmental angle, these are exactly the things we should be supporting as a society to reduce greenhouse gases. and I could tell you more about that if you'd like. But when you think about it,
Mr.
these
Stone,
smaller homes.
we're not making policy here tonight. We've been asked to advise the Board of Zoning Adjustment on whether we think this project should be approved under the terms of the zoning code as it exists. The argument you're making is better addressed to City Council or the Zoning Commission.
Okay, I was hoping you could sort of view this as, you know, through the lens of all of the benefits that projects like this bring to society. But I'm new to this process. In fact, this is the first time I've ever been on an ANC call. Thank you for letting me know. But I do support the project. I think we need more of this all across the city. Thank you for the chance.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Stone.
appreciate it.
I think Ms. Rubino is also asked to speak to this.
Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Lenora Bino. I live a couple of doors down from Michael Farquhar. Known him a long time myself. We all on that particular street own this extra lot behind our house. And that lot has, when you purchase it and you sit down with a settlement attorney, he goes over it with you and he tells you it's a restrictive lot and it has a covenant. And the covenant does not allow residential building. All of us have known this since day one when we purchased it. And I'm a real estate agent, and I've spoken to settlement attorneys, I've spoken to a number of attorneys, and who have told me that it's just because you combine the land and the two lots, you do not remove the restriction to build. It's basically real estate 101. The restriction runs with the land, whether you combine it or not.
Ms. Rubino, I'm an equal opportunity Grinch in matters like this. Do you have any comments about the zoning application? Whether or not there's a covenant that runs with the land that is imposed on this piece of property is not something the ANC can decide, and I don't think it's anything that the Board of Zoning Adjustment can decide. That's an issue for the Superior Court.
I don't understand if you have a legal document that says it's a restrictive covenant, how you can say you cannot decide it. It's right there in the record.
The Board of Zoning Adjustment and the ANC don't have jurisdiction over those issues. And that's something you'll have to take to the Superior Court.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand how you can legally do that.
Or
how you can give permission to the applicant to go against the covenant that's in place and that has been in place since the land.
We don't, the ANC doesn't give permission to anyone, nor does it restrict anyone from doing anything. All we do is provide our advice to the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Well, I would think that would be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rubino. Has anyone else in the public raise their hands?
We have a George Windfeller. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Windenfeller. You may have to unmute yourself.
George Weidenfeller. I've actually owned property on 39th Street in that block since 1989. I actually, when I bought the house, original owners were still living there. They gave me strong advice as to what you can do in the neighborhood in terms of what the restricted covenants were. I guess that's not your jurisdiction. I personally am not sure what your jurisdiction is, or why we're having this hearing if your jurisdiction is so limited. But I just wanted to say a couple of things. I'm sort of surprised at the plan that the attorney demonstrated. And I just wonder why a storage place would need to have a bay window and a sliding door. That doesn't look like my storage places. Just a couple of other things. I have spent a career working in affordable housing as Deputy General Counsel at the Department of Housing and Urban Development for over 2 decades, and a career over 3 decades. I continue to work in affordable housing. I have chaired the American Bar Association Forum on Affordable Housing and Community Development. I'm very well NIMBY, very well aware of NIMBY. I don't think this is a NIMBY issue at all. What is being proposed is not affordable housing. I don't think this is consistent with And I'm very well aware of ancillary dwelling units and the interest of the district in ancillary dwelling units and enhancing the ability to provide affordable housing in the district, which is desperately needed. This is not affordable housing. This is an ancillary dwelling unit and I don't, you know, whoever it was speaking, talking about Michael's character, I think Michael's a great guy. I just think Michael's off the rails here in terms of what he's proposing. This is totally inconsistent with that neighborhood. I don't understand why and how an environmentalist can say this is consistent with what's going on. I actually am aware of streets in the city where the city goes around and plants trees in people's front yard because it's concerned about the green umbrella, and suddenly we allowing this kind of a dwelling unit to be built on a very small plot of land. I also disagree with the attorney saying this is a.
Mr. Wiedenfeller, do you have any specific zoning related issues to raise?
I'm telling you what my position is. I guess I'm just telling you what I think you as ANC members should be considering. I'm not going to into the zoning specifics. I don't. So yeah. So I probably have nothing else to say to you.
Okay, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Any others, Peter?
No, but I do think we also have Michael who has his hand raised as an FYI.
I see. I would encourage Michael to rely on the representation he has from Ms. Moldenauer, but if you want to speak, go ahead.
I really want to keep this brief. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. I just, rather than read the statement I had prepared to read, let me just address a few things very briefly. The size of the ADU and the first floor structure is smaller by any count than the main dwelling. Decks have never been included in square footage. The confusion about the use of the ground floor, it is not called recreation. It was called recreation. The designer put that in there because she had removed the downstairs kitchen. And the word is recreation. The look of the building is, I do not think that it disqualifies by looking beautiful. I wanted something that was attractive. I think the first floor will be attractive as the second floor will be. I wanted a Williamsburg inspired cottage look of a Williamsburg outer house. Therefore, the look of the downstairs has no bearing on its use, which will be storage. I don't understand the objection George has raised to the fact that this does not qualify as an ADU. This provides additional housing. I have two adjacent main houses. They will both be rented. I will live as I've dreamed of living for many years in a smaller space of my design on the second floor. And as for the trees, etc., this is an empty lot that is much larger than any of the others along the alley. It is a contiguous lot, unlike any of the other alley lots. It has 39th Street facing. It has an entirely different character than any of those other lots. And that's really, I know you all have have a lot on your plate tonight. I don't want to take up any of your time, but a few of those things, I just thought it was necessary to clarify.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I think that does it for comments all the way around. Commissioner Puda, do you have a resolution to offer? And then we can have discussion if the commissioners want to discuss it.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, to all of my neighbors. This project in the first district of our commission has garnered more letters from neighbors than any in my district in my time on the commission. I'm not a lawyer or a zoning expert at all, but I was elected by my neighbors, and I have spoken with dozens of them about this over the last 6 months by phone and in person, and have visited various locations as well. I definitely do understand why several neighbors are concerned. A few blocks away from this location, there is already one approved detached ADU accessory apartment in Burleith. It is a small second floor apartment behind a home on S Street. It was approved by the zoning board in 2018 over this ANC's opposition before most of us were elected, including myself. This application today is also for a small second floor apartment. They withdrew their request for a waiver to live on both floors. No, it's not the same situation or location, but the point is I've asked the neighbors on S Street and no one there has any concerns about that ADU apartment. At least one has written to support this project. Even those who were previously concerned no longer are. And I spoke to the owner there. He confirmed that it was not an easy undertaking. And in the 4 years since that time, no other home in my district has built a detached ADU apartment or proposed one until now. Nevertheless, I do agree that this case is a little different and deserves careful consideration by the zoning board. And I will read my resolution in a quick minute. And I thank my chairman, Rick Murphy, for his helpful input. But I would be remiss if I didn't very quickly mention one last issue, even if it's not directly relevant. The history of my neighborhood. I love Burleith, but according to the Burleith website, when it was first developed, the homes had covenants that stated that the houses could not be, quote, sold, rented, or leased to those of Negro blood, unquote. So for those historic reasons, the neighborhood's diversity has been less than it would otherwise have been. The Biden administration and many cities nationwide have been supporting and promoting ADUs to help address affordable housing, as well as housing opportunities for those who have had fewer opportunities in the past, including people of color. I know it's not directly relevant, but I felt it needed to be said. And now my resolution. ANC 2E supports the use of accessory dwelling units that comply with the 2016 zoning code to address the shortage of affordable housing in our city. ANC 2E asks the members of the Board of Zoning Adjustment to consider the following issues when deciding whether to approve the application pending in BZA case number 20505. 1, is the proposed new standalone structure an accessory building, as that term is defined in the code? And 2, is the dwelling unit itself an accessory apartment, as that term is defined in the code? If the project conforms with the code definitions, we believe the BZA should approve the project as it is in Burleith, which is not a historic district where character and appearance are separately protected, such as in Georgetown. We also recommend the board members examine impacts on utilities and consider any impact to the bordering national park land, as these are concerns we have heard from some neighbors as well.
Okay, do we have a second for Commissioner Puta's resolution? Got a second from Commissioner Srivastava. Thank you, Simran. Any discussion among the commissioners? Okay, and hearing none, I'm ready to vote. All in favor of adopting Commissioner Puta's resolution, please raise your hands. Okay. We have 4. All opposed? We have 1. I can't see Gwen. Gwen, which way did you vote? Well, it'll have to go down as an abstention. All right. The resolution passes and is adopted. Thank you all. We'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Ms. Moldenauer. Thank you all.
Rick, just to clarify, we would count Gwen as an absence because she's not voting anyway. She's not physically present.
Okay, well,
Thanks again to all my, oh, hey, Gwen.
I had to go to the ladies' room. I apologize.
Okay, you missed the vote.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It happens.
It happens. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to all my neighbors.
Okay, we got one other zoning case. This is Board of Zoning Adjustment application for special exceptions, matter of right use requirements to permit a fast food restaurant use on the first floor and basement of an existing attached 3-story with basement mixed use building at 1357 Wisconsin Avenue. This is in my district. This is the building adjacent to Compass Coffee in the block that is most famous for suit stores going out of business. They're here for a special exception because of the definition of fast food in the zoning code, which basically says anything that doesn't provide table service is fast food. This is not something that is in the traditional mode of fast food. And I believe we have representatives of Tai Chi Bubble Tea, the applicant, Zach Williams, to come and present and tell us what they want to do. Hi, Zach. Yeah, there you go.
Evening. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Could we also promote Mr. Young Chen, who's going to be the operator here, as well as Joe McCoy?
They're coming through.
Great. Great, thank you. I've got a brief presentation. I know it's late, so I'm going to be as efficient as I can. And then we'll be available for questions as well. Great. Well, thanks again to Commissioner Murphy and commissioners of the ANC. We appreciate your time tonight. My name is Zach Williams. I'm a land use attorney with Venable, and I'm representing the applicant in this case. The applicant is Tai Chi Bubble Tea. It'll be a new restaurant location, as Commissioner Murphy mentioned, just a storefront north of the Compass Coffee on Wisconsin Ave Northwest. Here's a quick look at the zoning map depicting the property at which we are proposing the new restaurant location. 1357 Wisconsin Ave Northwest is the official address. This is in the MU4 zone. And as many of you may know, in the MU4 zone, a fast food establishment, as that term is described in the zoning regulations, is permitted with a special exception approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. This picture here shows the what will be the completed construction facade of this building. As folks probably are familiar, this building's been under construction for some time. That exterior construction is not part of this application. That's already been approved, it's permitted, and it's about to be concluded. This application is simply for an interior fit out for this proposed restaurant. It would be on the southern storefront here. You can see there's going to be two storefronts. This would be on the southernmost storefront of this newly constructed building.
Just to be clear, it's the white storefront with the more modern addition on top.
Correct.
And I misstated in the preamble. It's 2 doors north. Martin Diamond Properties has the two storefronts between this storefront and Compass Coffee.
That's right. It's not directly adjacent. It's just two buildings north of the Compass Coffee location.
Okay, go ahead, Zach. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. No, that's fine. Here are some proposed renderings for the interior of the restaurant. Now, this restaurant is, the name, as you might imagine, Tai Chi Bubble Tea, is going to serve items including bubble teas as well as ramens and other related foods. It'll be counter service. So it'll be sort of like a Chipotle, if you will, in the sense that the food is prepared at the counter, and then you can take it either to eat in-house or to take it to eat to go. Because we don't have waiter service, technically speaking, even though I don't think we consider this fast food on our team here, it's considered a fast food establishment under the zoning regulations, just like a Chipotle would have to get a special exception in the MU4 zone. This type of restaurant also is required to get one. Here's another rendering of the proposed interior of the space. And that's the rendering of the ordering boards and the counter where the food will be prepared and ordered and picked up. I've included here just a quick layout to show how we will be using the 2 floors. The restaurant will be located on the basement level as well as the first level of this building. The upper levels are actually residential. Those are not part of this application, won't be part of this restaurant. There'll be 42 tables in total and 94 seats on the 2 levels of the restaurant. As you can see depicted here, the idea is that, just like you would have in a typical type of fast casual restaurant, the folks that order at the counter are able to find a spot to eat their meal and relax if they like. But it's not meant to be sort of a sit down typical type restaurant with waiter service. It's a little bit more quick moving. So we're required to have special exception relief. As I mentioned, this is in the MU4 zone. Now, again, this is not really going to function as a traditional fast food restaurant. Instead, I think of a Chipotle, maybe an End Pizza. It's really a ramen bar and going to serve bubble tea, salad bowls, burritos, those types of items from the counter. So your typical fast casual sort of orientation and operation there. Again, we're sort of considered a fast food establishment, but I don't think it really will operate like a traditional fast food establishment might. With the special exception, essentially you're looking at a couple of different standards in the zoning regulations. One is it has to be harmonious with the properties in the vicinity, and you also don't want to have any significant impacts on those properties. So here, as folks that are familiar with the area know, this portion of Wisconsin Ave is surrounded by restaurant retail uses. Just within a block of this proposed restaurant would be a Compass Coffee, as we know, an End Pizza, 7-Eleven, a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and there's plenty of other stores and storefronts in that vicinity that are also in harmony with and will complement this proposed restaurant as well. There'll be no impacts at the rear of the property. The residential properties to the rear, all of the activity will happen at the front of the store. The customer entrance will be at the front. The trash will be handled at the front. So there won't be any impacts at the back of the store at all. The hours of operation that we're proposing vary depending on the day of the week. We're proposing 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. from Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. The trash plan that we are implementing here, again, the trash will be picked up on the street front at the curb, just like the other restaurants and food uses in this area. There's no service in the back. So we will have trash storage in the store, and that trash will be walked out to the curb at the end of the night for pickup. We'll have a private trash service to pick up. If for some reason they don't pick up or they miss the pickup, that trash will be brought back inside the store for storage until the next pickup time. So that concludes my presentation, and we are available. We have our architect here. We also have the operator here to answer any questions that folks may have.
Do we have any questions from commissioners? No. Okay.
I have a quick question. This is more about my my own lack of knowledge. When we talk about the fast food piece, right? Rick, and you're an expert on this. As we identify the building as a fast food restaurant, how does the process work should another type of restaurant want to come in? Because the bubble shop, of course, is a popular piece, and I think very popular right now, especially. But in the future, once it's zoned that, how could that evolve?
Well, I think the answer is the word or phrase fast food is confusing things here. As Zach pointed out, all that means is that you don't have table service, right? So yeah, there could be another restaurant that could try to get in there, but when they tried, if there are any changes to the use, the ANC would have another shot at it, presumably. And, you know, you can't deal with every imaginary horrible. This is an opportunity to fill up a block that is full of going out of business suit stores and vacant storefronts with an attractive business that is very similar to what's going on directly across the street at Boulangerie Christophe, although they do have table service upstairs. Very similar to what's going on at Compass Coffee, very similar to what's going on at Ann Pizza. So at the end of the day, you would think that the traditional McDonald's or
Yeah, I've got you. I just wanted to make sure. I've reviewed this a few times, but the terminology is important and it can vary. So thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it.
And I mean, as you can tell, I'm in favor of this application.
absolutely.
Because it's a block I want to get filled up desperately. So,
Yeah, me too. I live, as you know, 2 blocks on that block.
Yeah.
Straight down, right?
So,
So
and
thank you, though. I just wanted to verify. Thanks.
Just so you know, I've done some field testing. There's a Tai Chi bubble tea shop very near my mother's house in Atlanta, Georgia, and I went in and took a look. So, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Williams or anyone else?
How quickly could you open if we move this forward?
Yeah, so the BZA hearing is at the end of April 27th. And so we would go in for permits thereafter. It'd probably take a few months to get permits. And then the idea is that we would try to start construction by the summer. The applicant is motivated to start as soon as possible. He's already under lease at this location. And so hopefully we would be able to have it open, you know, at some point at either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. But I don't know if the applicant, Mr. Chen, has anything more that he can speak to that in terms of timing.
That's okay.
Sounds
I think that's close enough.
Yeah.
Do we have any members of the public who want to comment, Peter?
Not currently. We only have 5 people left.
Yeah, I thought we might be dwindling down. I think Zach and Joseph, thank you for hanging in there with us. I do have a resolution to offer. ANC 2E's supports the application for special exception relief submitted by Tai Chi Bubble Tea in BCA case number 20696. If the Board of Zoning Adjustments order approving the application includes the following conditions. 1, all trash will be stored inside the store at all times and not in the alley at the rear of the premises. Trash will be removed from the interior of the store through the front door on Wisconsin Avenue for the purpose of pickup by the applicant's commercial trash service. Trash containers will be placed in front of the store on Wisconsin Avenue early in the morning on pickup days before the store opens and will not be allowed to remain outside after the store opens. 2, the store's operating hours will be from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday through Thursday, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and from 12 noon to 10 p.m. on Sunday. Do I have a second for that motion? I have several. I'll pick out Commissioner Loos. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, you have your resolution, Zach. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Godspeed at the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we move now to the Old Georgetown Board agenda, and we only have 2 items, I believe, this evening for the OGB. The first is 2737 O Street. That's in Commissioner Loos's district. Do you have someone here to speak to this, Commissioner Loos?
I do, and I think Diana's on. And Diane, you have been so patient, and I want to just apologize for the fact that it's 10 o'clock at night. So thank you. And Diane, let's just bring her up, and then.
I actually missed what you said as I was joining as a panelist.
Oh, I was saying, Diane, I just want to thank you for being so patient, and I apologize that it's 10 o'clock at night.
I'm
So-
going to try to make my way through this, so bear with me. It has been a long, but it's been a very interesting meeting.
Yeah, so Diane, to given it is 10 o'clock at night, would you mind if I kind of summarize where I think we are, if that would be okay?
Absolutely.
Diane is working to bring some beautiful detail onto a historic home here in the Georgetown community, and actually on my street. We think we have no comments with regard to types of lights, windows, doors. Almost everything proposed is all really OGB specific, and they are the experts that you want to work with. I do have some questions about the porch that's proposed in the back of the house. So maybe we could focus in on that. The house is next to, for those of you that are familiar, the old Anglican church. It was built in 1853. And it's a first floor porch that they're proposing, and it would not disturb the privacy of the church. I don't know about the light, and I don't know how close it is to the church. Diane, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, do you want me to share my screen and show the images, or just talk through it? I know.
Well, we do not need, I don't think, if I hear Commissioner Los correctly, we don't need to see images of the entrance stair and the gas lamps or the trim at the door. The focus here is on the new deck.
Solely on the porch in the back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure, we can move quickly to those drawings.
And there should be a share screen button at the bottom of the screen.
That one?
Yeah, if you click it, there'll be a pop-up, and you just have to choose the window that has your presentation.
There we are.
Are you seeing me? Okay.
There we are, yeah.
There we are. So this is the existing porch, and the church is to the right. And we are maintaining this line here. So we are not going closer to the church. We're extending the porch to meet the building, part of the residence. So the porch will get extended to the right to meet the brick wall here and forward towards the street. At the front of the street, there is a knee wall right now that will shield the porch, as it does right now. So we're maintaining the exact same height off the ground, which is less than 4 feet, and extending it over enough to put, a seating area for the homeowners to enjoy the outside. There's no backyard at this house and no additional side yard. So this is our only option to provide any kind of outdoor area. The car parks right here on this side, and that would remain. So again, we're extending out towards the street and to the left. The porch is about 10 by 12 total dimensions, including the staircase, the 4 steps to access it. We're maintaining the railing. We would match the railing that's at the front of the
Diane,
house.
that is very, very helpful, because the drawings provided didn't show the distance between the church. And I actually wasn't in town to go look at it. And it didn't show the neighboring area, and that was the true concern. So I'd like to propose that ANC has no comment on this applicant's proposal.
Okay, do we have a second for Commissioner Los's no comment resolution? I can't see anybody at the moment. Okay, Commissioner Palmer has seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
And Diane, I would add, you probably do want a neighbor notification, let them know you're
Yes,
doing
we-
this. That's
Yeah,
a
so we
requirement.
posted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
and
sent
I-
out the letters to all the neighbors.
Yeah, okay. The church had said they hadn't heard, so just FYI. But
Okay,
you
we'll
said you
reach out.
dropped it, so I'm trusting you.
It was
Okay.
mailed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 3024 Q Street.
Yeah, and we, you all may, I don't think the applicant is on, nor is their architect.
If you're here for this project, if you could raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. I know we only have 3 people left. You're one of the three. I guess not.
I
Okay,
will give
Simran, are you
you,
having second thoughts?
Some of you may remember this project from last meeting. It was a deck, and we asked for on a second floor overlooking a garden, and we had asked the applicant to share the plans with the neighbors, and they had not until 2 days before, and the neighbors had concerns about the impact of their light and their privacy. They have shared, at this point, they have shared the plans, and it is a porch, and as you know, and it does impact the privacy, and there is some light consideration. So as you know, we have typically not supported porches as ANC because of the privacy and the light impact within Georgetown and the historic area. I'm unclear as to why they aren't using an awning for what is already, a little bit of a porch. They just want to cover part of it, and then they can pull it back when they aren't out there, so it doesn't disturb the neighbor. So I am going to make a proposal, if I could.
Sure.
ANC 2E does not typically support decks that will block the light and the privacy, given the close quarters within Georgetown and the frequent use of gardens. ANC 2E encourages this applicant to consider a mechanical awning to cover it rather than an enclosed porch that will impact the neighbor on a permanent basis.
Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Rick, I was just going to add that I did check, this wasn't on the consent agenda, so it is on the full agenda for OGB.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what's going to happen to it, but that's okay. It was unanimous in favor of Gwen's resolution, Peter. So. All righty, I think we have come to the end of our agenda, and I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Commissioner Palmer, second by Commissioner Loos, all in favor? Thanks, everybody.
Good night, and thank you for sticking in there for your first meeting.
Yeah.
Great.
Like I said,
Hopefully the other ones aren't as
go back to the
long.
dorm and say, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention the impromptu introduction before we all began.
Yes, exactly.
They aren't always this long. This is
Yeah.
decently
Well,
longer.
we're
than
glad to
usual.
have you here. It's better you see, the belly before on the first call, right?
Does anyone know where Elizabeth is?